term woke because I hear woke. You know, it's like just a term that use half the people can't even define it. They don't know what it is.
It was, if anything, it was entertaining. I always found it entertaining.
Exactly. It's not so entertaining now that it all came true.
No.
Uh-oh, I waited too long to piss. It's already started. Oh, my God.
Jesus
Sorry
Christ.
about that.
Now everybody knows your name is Matt.
Do you always dox your former customers like this?
When they're not my customers anymore, I no longer care.
God, that's grace.
And I think it did a damn good job for being what it needed to be for Star Wars. I love The Last Jedi. I love The Last Jedi.
Grifting is stupid.
Truth is out.
Not to sound like a dick, but I just don't care. I mean, there's 400 people watching this stream. If one of them knows my name now that didn't know it before, it's a success for me. At the end of the day, I have tried to build Geeks and Gamers by doing it the structured way, the methodical way, the think it out, prep it, take notes, think about everything you're going to say. And it fucking failed miserably on me. The day that I started doing what I'm doing right now, which is what you're, having a problem with, is the day that I started becoming successful.
This guy is a grifter.
The reason you aren't taken seriously is because of your behavior in situations that pertain to Star Wars from top to bottom. Now, look, I don't love everything Star Wars. I'm not a big fan of Rebels. I didn't like Rogue One that much. But do I constantly whine and bitch and complain about it?
But of course, Diego Luna has the diversity aspect.
No, I don't cool. There's people that love Rebels. There's people that love Rogue One. And that's awesome. That is continuing to enhance the universe and bring more people into the fold.
The flashback scenes are so stupid.
I don't love everything Star Wars, but if I don't like it, I complain about it for like a few days, and then I just move on with my fucking life.
And they're pushing identity politics with this. They 100% are.
You can't keep getting away with it.
I don't understand this need to continue to bitch and whine and moan.
This is the only reason Diego Luna is the lead character of this series, because they're trying to push their diversity bullshit.
Bitch and whine and moan.
You can't keep getting away with it.
How the Fandom Menace manufactures content for clickbait. Before Rings of Power, House of the Dragon is woke. It hates white people and men will fail, etc. Racist, sexist, clickbait. So right here, woke disaster. Showrunner race-swapped characters because there's too many white people, which is not what was said, but, House of the Dragon hates men. And then, the quartering with his lowest common denominator of these guys, which is pretty fucking sad. They're all really lowest common denominator, but the quartering is just the laziest. Woke trash incoming.
These guys are hanging out in the anti-woke house. This quartering is pissing in that basement of that house, basically. Yep.
So then after Rings of Power, which, of course, is way more of a woke gold mine for them, right? And credit where it's due, I guess, but they're good at this as far as knowing what the thing is they should lean into, right? After Rings of Power debuted, which is like a week or two after, I guess, House of the Dragon, and obviously these are two mega popular shows that are going to be talked about in the discourse and most importantly to these guys, in the trending tab, in the algorithms. And by changing their opinions and changing the thing that they're for to be, or against to being for it against the other thing, now they can have both of them in their titles. They can have both of them in their thumbnails. They can have them both in their in their keywords. So in the algorithm, and then they also get the conflict that they need, that they thrive on, right? They have to have conflict. They must. And so it became House of the Dragon destroys Rings of Power. And then they're praising House of the Dragon. No more mention of House of the Dragon being woke. No more mention of any of this stuff up here just a couple of weeks or a month before. No, now it's like they just got wrecked. Rings of Power ratings are terrible. Amazon gets just right. It's not true. But Amazon gets destroyed by House of the Dragon. And then here the quartering. Look, these are all the same guys too. I'm not just like showing you random examples. So these are the exact same dudes. House of the Dragon destroys Rings of Power in the ratings by the quartering. Then Ryan Kendall tweeting how he liked it. And I'll admit, he did say here, he really thought he was going to hate the series, but he's loving it so far. And then, yeah, that's actually rare praise. But let's think about the fact that would he have said that if he wasn't trying to shit on Lord of the Rings?
Exactly. Would he have said that if Lord of the Rings didn't exist at this point? Probably not.
Yeah. Nerderotic had responded, best episode so far. Here's a Geeks and Gamers title. Woke disaster for Amazon, destroyed by House of the Dragon. It's crazy, man. The main thing that I think is important is it's not like people aren't allowed to change their minds, right? Like if you think something's going to be bad and then it's not, and you're like, oh, shit, I was wrong. Like Ryan Kendall says there, but do you think that they go back and I don't know, hide those videos where they talked black people existing, in House of the Dragon? No, they didn't. They don't change any of that. All that content is still fucking up in theory forever. It's still out there poisoning fucking people's brains with sexism and racism and every other ism, right? And it would be one thing if they were like, okay, you know what? I thought it was going to be woke and terrible, but it's not. Let me, I don't know, private those videos, unlist them, because that's the responsible thing to do. But I mean, they can't possibly do that because they're going to get ad revenue from those in perpetuity.
The reason people like in the West are starting to draw more and more towards Korean or Japanese filmmaking, it's precisely because it's a bit different from what we get.
Yeah, what is the most recent Japanese film or at least entertainment that you enjoyed so far?
So he asked him, what is the most recent Japanese film that he's enjoyed? Because he just said everybody's in America, they're flocking to Japanese and Korean movies, right? Because American movies are so woke and bad. All right, give us, the most recent Japanese movie that you thought was so much better than American films.
What am I thinking of? See, a lot of them would be older ones, like Old Boy, for example. I really enjoyed that one. I know it's not Japanese, but probably stuff like that. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I really like that. I know it's like Chinese, I think. But yeah,
it's just sad, man. Like, I really wish that Eric July would just have the confidence in his character, in the Rippaverse, to just sell it, man. Just sell it on its own merits. Why do you have to disparage other shit to boost yourself?
Have a million spider folk, which doesn't even make sense when you consider Peter's origin.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
Talking about Peter Darker.
Fun fact. Eric used to like the character, even saying he's more than just a black Peter Parker, but he changed his tune when he found out he could make more money pandering to racist comic book fans who hate Miles Morales.
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Did you used to like him? Not judging or whatever. Just curious.
No.
You sure about that?
Do you like Miles Morales then?
No.
You sure about that?
Yeah, some characters have been written decently that are of different races and have suited up in the suit of a hero or a version of that hero. One of the more obvious is Miles Morales as Spider-Man.
You're just actively making shit up, ha ha ha.
Miles Morales has his own background. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
Talking about Peter Darker.
But Miles is an exception, make no mistake.
I define everybody that's not Peter Parker as an unoriginal Peter Parker.
And it will always be preferable to have another character with his own unique skill set, unique art. This is far better than just simply making Peter Parker a black guy.
I don't understand it.
Why is he doing what he's doing?
As far as what? Give me a specific
anything. Give me, like, pick your own example and give it to me.
I'm not giving you anything.
Give me an example.
I'll tell you what. If you
I'll give you an example. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right?
Let's talk about. Go back to ISOM. What about it? Are you asking? What specific?
Wait. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right?
What specific action are you asking? Pretending? No. I'm gonna get stuck on this one. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right? Are you what? Let's talk about ISOM. You just asked me a question. Let's keep moving.
There are plenty of people that don't know who Spider-Man is, dipshit.
Suffering Steve Ditko! How can you not know that Spider-Man first appeared in 1962's classic Amazing Fantasy number 15?
Stupidity is when you speak on things aggressively and you knowingly are ignorant on it. When they continue to do this goofy stuff because they're out of ideas and they're hiring people that probably shouldn't be in these positions.
So he says they're hiring people that shouldn't be in these positions at all. Let's take a look at that.
Stupidity is when you speak on things aggressively and you knowingly are ignorant on it.
Legacy characters are a comic book tradition.
New legacy character? What do you mean new legacy character? Are
You
you talking
understand-
about knockoff versions? Is that what you're referring to?
Okay, so you understand what a legacy character is, right?
Yes, I'm asking you for clarification. Can you answer what the question I just had?
Well, I'm trying to understand how you are asking what a legacy character is.
What up, y'all? What up? Whoop. What up? Can you hear me okay? Am I fucking audible? Am I fucking audible? Let's see. The correct microphone is hooked up. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, guys, we getting going. We gonna do it. Let's fucking do it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Share with some friends. Tell them come join this motherfucker because it's gonna be a wild one. Maybe, I don't know. It's gonna be cool, one way or another. All right. So, be right back with you after this quick fucking intro.
Crazy Cat said, Eric, is it gangsta to run crying and informing to the police because you're being bullied on the internet? Is this how brothers roll in the hood?
Well, I'm no gangster.
That was diabolical.
But apparently I got Professor X powers and I can just summon the police whenever I need. But,
Crazy Cat said, Eric, what are the plans for the Rippaverse when Daddy Glenn shuts the money hose off because of diminishing returns?
Holy fuck!
Give me the damn money, Glenn.
But if Glenn wants to give me the money, I'll take it.
We need the Glenn bucks.
Well, yeah, give us the Glenn bucks.
Come on.
Man. Damn, where is it at? Give me the damn money, Glenn.
We need the Glenn bucks.
Well, yeah, give us the Glenn bucks.
Come on.
Man. Damn, where is it at?
Yeah, EVS fucking has the best jiggle physics. fuck Stellar Blade, man, or whatever. Like, Ethan Van Sciver's jiggle physics are through the fucking roof, guys.
God damn, jiggle for me.
Do not come.
No. You realize how messed up that sounds, right?
Do not come.
Wait. I'm just gonna come as hard as I can.
Come.
That is amazing. And you, my friend, are a true hero.
It's like I was made for this.
The other one, Don't Organize Chaos.
Actual fandom.
You should delete your channel. The female version of Dick Grayson is Pussy Grey Daughter.
He's out of line, but he's right.
But really, if you want to do any kind of like karmic justice back in the fucking world for the damage that you're causing with this kind of shit, you should just delete your fucking channel. Okay? Drink it in. Yeah. Absorb it. Let it wash over you. Look, here's the thing.
It's the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. It's clobbering time.
I vaguely know who actual fandom is.
Hey, motherfuckers.
The journey that we choose as fans. You know, everything's just not always going to be great. And when it's great, you got to celebrate the hell out of it. But when it's not, you just move on to some other shit. It's like the easiest thing in the world.
Hello and welcome. This is that show on that channel that sometimes some of you watch, but not consistently, except for a couple of you. And I thank you. And if this is your first time, I thank you. You know, I was just reading some comments under a video, and it turns out nobody even knows who I am. Can you believe that? It also turns out that the only reason that me or Organized Chaos want to have a conversation with guys like EFAP is because we just want attention. We just want attention. That's all we want. Okay? Even though we've expressly explained what it is that we want to do, the cope seems to be by EFAP and their audience at this point that they don't, you know, that they don't just do that, talk to people that just want attention, right? Well, that's fair. That's fair. I wouldn't do that either, man. Like, I mean, what kind of scumbag gets on YouTube and makes YouTube videos because they want attention? Anyway. Hello and welcome. No, I have not seen Wolverine 9 yet. Wolverine 9. I'm not wearing the appropriate attire even. I didn't even think about it. No, I mean, I'm going to see it as soon as I can. But that's not yet. How you guys doing? Yeah, I mean, everything that I've seen about it is it's good. Like, basically, Movie Bob, who, you know, I tend to... He's a little kind of inconsistent sometimes, it seems like with how he applies stuff. But that's okay. He's, you know, nothing against him. Like, people can be inconsistent. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay to be an inconsistent person when it comes to, like, oh, I didn't enjoy this movie as much as I thought I would because I was in a bad mood or I had diarrhea or some shit like that, right? I mean, anyway, no, he said that basically he liked it. It was pretty good. Nothing that's gonna like change the game. He actually said he hopes that this is the last one, the last Marvel movie that's kind of like this for a while, right? Where it's just like almost just pure popcorn, right? But he also said that it's probably better than Deadpool 2, probably not better than Deadpool 1, and then definitely better than every Fox movie, X-Men movie except for Logan, which, you know, there's a lot of stuff he said in this review that I'm just like, I don't know, I'm kind of having a hard time deciding what you think about it, because like in 1 minute he seems to be kind of downplaying how cool it is, another minute he's giving it some praise like that, but maybe he just really thinks lowly of the Foxmen movies. I do. So anyway, how you guys doing? I was thinking about changing the name of the stream to something like, you know, Mahler's name is Callum Edmonds. You know, just put his name on, because like, fuck these guys, man. I'm so sick of their fucking bullshit and their stupid fucking audience, their cultish fucking idiotic audience. They're fucking morons. And this wasn't going to be like a chud type of stream, but like I was just happened to read some comments underneath the video from a while back where I said that I've been blocked by several chuds now. 3 or 4 of them or so that like I've never really interacted with or anything, and yet they've preemptively blocked me. And then you got people in my comment section acting like that doesn't mean anything. Come the fuck on, man. Like, you are coping. You are fucking coping. Why the fuck would these people who theoretically should have no reason to know who I am? Right? His name, his and fucking Rags' name, which is Lawrence Angyal, they've been on IMDb and Fandom Wiki for years. Like, you can just go look at them. You know what I mean? Like, I've known what their names were for a couple of years now. And I just like, we would tease it here and there, and we like, you know, because I wasn't going to just be a dick, because clearly they didn't want them like just out there, right? Like, they didn't want everybody to know them, but it's not a doxing because the shit is on publicly available websites next to their name. I can show you. It says Mahler, Callum Edmonds. And this is on like the wiki, Fandom Wiki page, right? There's clearly upkept by somebody in their fan base, it seems like. So if they really cared that much, they could do something about it. But they don't. And so I fuck their fucking, their disingenuous bullshit where they act like they're, oh, how dare you use our names or our faces or whatever. And it's like, dude, you put these things on the internet. You did. Do you not understand how this works? If you don't want these things on the internet, don't fucking put them, you know? So yeah, you know, fucking Callum Edmonds and Lawrence Angyal, and Callum Edmonds is the perfect fucking name for Mahler. You know, like he is It's just a like posh little fucking fat British kid that, you know, has had everything handed to him, and he doesn't have any experience in life. So he doesn't understand things, and yet he thinks he's fucking super intelligent. That's him. That's him. That name encapsulates that perfectly. Anyway, I'm not pissed off. No, just like when you see enough of a bullshit comment, like there's not a single comment that can really affect me, but whenever you see a certain thing, like in this context of us having done plenty of good faith attempts to appeal to a conversation with these guys for, you know, a couple of years almost, you know, we weren't gonna just like be bad faith. We weren't gonna, whatever the fuck that means to them. It seems like it just means whenever somebody disagrees with them, then they don't have an argument for it. But like, you know, we've gone out of our way to try to do things in a civil way, a respectful way, where it's like, look, we recognize that, you know, I mean, we disagree on a lot of shit. I think it would be a good conversation to have. I think that a few of our, you know, best minds, and then I guess that's their best minds, might be able to have a pretty productive conversation, or at least interesting, entertaining. And for them to act like all we want is attention. Attention is what we want. Well, I mean, no, man, we've said clearly what we want is to hold you to account for things that you fucking say that are clearly just stupid, in our opinion. And that should be enough. Like, the fact that they think they get to decide what we want, what is in our heads, despite what we say our intentions are, right? That is such a cowardly fucking thing to do, man. Do you realize that? Like, they can say that about anybody. Oh, this person, even though they say whatever they're saying this here, I've decided that what they really want is attention. That's all they want. And I don't give people attention if that's all they want. They're insulated. They're fucking insulated little cowards. They know the conversation would go poorly for them. And I'm done fucking being nice about it. Callum Edmonds and Lawrence Angell. Anyway. It's the lying. It's the fact that they play the role of, like, you know, Chud Defense League, right? Like, anytime there's somebody that makes a meaningful, substantive kind of debunking or whatever, somebody like Critical Drinker, and it gets more than, I don't know what their threshold is for them to like be alarmed, but something happens and they're like, oh God, that's got too many views. Pillar of Garbage's video has too many views. We got to attack Pillar of Garbage. Or Red Letter Media. Oh my God, they're saying this stuff. We got to fucking attack Red Letter Media. It's so fucking disingenuous and dumb. By the way, thanks for the patience, guys. It was I just had family stuff going on. Got kids here. I got one kid that's injured. You know, got to get them squared away and everything before the stream can start, and it took longer than I expected. So here we are. So Absolute Unit Batman is a thing. Exactly. Anthony too. Absolute Unit Batman. Let's talk about Absolute Unit. Before we do that though, because I'm definitely going to forget if I don't do this now. Tomorrow. Organized Chaos and I shall be reviewing this debate that we had with Madam and Bitch on Valentine's Day of last year. We meant to do that pretty much since the debate happened. We were going to do a review of it, and we just never did because it was so stupid. Like, you know, we'll talk about it tomorrow, and we'll point out exactly why we just kind of were like, this is. It was clear before we ever did the thing because thankfully I had some foreknowledge of who they were and what they're about, so we knew not to fall for their gimmick that they do, and that ultimately pissed Adam off at least. But yeah, it was kind of a just headbutting couple hours because they had their goal of trying to pigeonhole us into whatever they think woke means and then have to defend anything that they bring up, right? Because that's what they do. And then we were just determined to not let them do that. And so it was kind of like a fucking deadlock through a lot of it. But you know, in the process, there was some stuff revealed, and the main thing is tomorrow we've got a guest. We've got a guest who is someone who was formerly of their community, and pretty close to him. I mean, to a degree, like he was friendly with them. I don't know if he would describe himself as friends, but he was friendly with them, and for quite a while, part of that group and part of that mentality. And he's out of that now. And I've actually I'd consider him a friend. He's become friendly to me in recent months. And, he's going to give his take on what these guys are about. And hopefully it'll be cathartic for him, having made his way out of that. But cool. Let's see. Drinker is clearly hit or miss, to say the least, but what's Mahler to blame for recently? Well, I mean, so are you new to my channel? I'm not trying to be a dick, but are you? Because I'm not saying because they're wrong about something that's why I don't like them. That's not what I'm doing. I don't get pissed off at Drinker for being wrong about shit. It's not what it is here. I don't give a shit about their opinions, I give a shit about their opinions that have something to do that act as gatekeeping. I give a shit about their opinions that their opinion that they have objective opinions, because that's just stupid and not true, and actually impossible, because that inherently leads to gatekeeping, which they do. I don't like that they go around hunting for. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's disingenuous or not. It's the fact that they are normalizers for far right content. Lawrence, aka Rags, has said, as far as I know, he's said plenty of fucking slurs. He's told people to kill themselves. And I'm talking about channels that they seek out that just have an opinion they don't like about Star Wars or whatever, and then they watch that video. Much smaller channels often. So they'll give attention to people that don't want attention from them. You know what I mean? And then their audience is a bit cultish. And I don't know how much you're in their audience or how much you might see what I'm talking about. But yeah, they bombard anybody that criticizes them. I've gotten it. I've got a friend who was on a stream one time with Bob, and they briefly talked about EFAP. And the friend said something really mild or whatever, like not even a hardcore criticism. And then his channel, which never covers this kind of stuff, he's got a smaller channel disconnected from that, like has gotten plenty of their audience over there talking shit to him because they're just like that. But yeah, no, so it's the fact that they you criticize them and their audience is going to swarm and say, well, you didn't, did you watch the whole thing? Or, kind of the Jordan Peterson defense, right? And then, they just, Mahler seems to be okay with like really terrible shit. Like, I mean, they want to say, oh, guilt by association or whatever is a defense. And it's like, I'm not saying you're guilty of anything, man. I'm saying that it speaks volumes to your character that you fucking constantly are streaming with guys like Nerdrotic and Heel versus Babyface and shit like that. You know what I mean? Who definitely say bigoted shit and make bigoted content, make hate content, propaganda. I would say that EFAP at this point is essentially just not much. It's not really any different. I used to think it was different. I used to think EFAP was like more sincere, more genuine, and maybe they were. I don't know. Maybe I was naive. But I see them as barely any different except in how they do it now. Anyway, and at this point, I don't like the fact that they won't fucking have a conversation with us because they supposedly had a rule or a standard of like if you criticize them, then if you have something to criticize them about, they'll have a conversation with you. And we have asked for that directly for, going on a couple of years now. They won't do it because they've decided that we just want attention. And that's just a really cowardly fucking thing thing to do. Oh yeah. I mean, it's I get it, man. Like if you're not engaging with stuff like intentionally, and everybody does this to a degree. Everybody's got content that they don't really pay attention to. They might put it on the background or whatever, but like it is important to kind of like be critical of the stuff that you're consuming whenever possible. Yeah, true. It's not guilt by association. It's just like you're just there, man. You're just there whenever they're saying terrible shit, and you're either laughing at it or you're not saying anything, which is Mahler. Callum. Well, I mean, look, I appreciate you being open to hearing that, man, because if you're somebody that has, kind of enjoyed their content before, I get the impulse. The impulse is strong to want to be defensive of that shit, but yeah. Good on you. I would not going to tell you what not to watch, but I would say that if you do end up watching one of their videos again, before you decide to put it on in the background, pay some attention to it and see. They're just making up the rules as they go along. EFAP, you know what I mean? They want to act like they have some firm standards for what filmmaking should be, when really all they're typically focusing on is the story, which is only one aspect of filmmaking. And then, even then, they often, as I've said about Mahler before, is that basically the thing that he thinks are his objective analysis of films are their post hoc rationalizations of the opinions of, honestly, like kind of like a teenager who hasn't experienced a lot of life yet. Which, hey, we've all been there and stuff, but like when I was a teenager, I was pretty cringe. Some would say I am now. That's okay. I'm okay with that. Yep, he sure did. He sure did. I mean, like right here.
Legacy characters simply
I am
a character.
saying, what do you mean by new legacy character? If they're a legacy character, they wouldn't be new.
Stupidity is when you speak on things aggressively and you knowingly are ignorant on it.
No, legacy characters are characters that carry on the legacy. You understand that, right?
Yes, I understand that, but if it's a legacy character, the character itself has been there and it's ingrained in comic books, as you just said. So what do you mean?
Stupidity is when you speak on things aggressively.
Because there are new characters created to add on to the legacy. Please don't tell me you're this dumb.
And you knowingly are ignorant on it.
First he says she does appear. Anyway, absolute unit, man. We got to talk about this absolute fucking unit. San Diego Comic-Con happening. I don't know. And here's the thing, though. Some of that absolute DC stuff that we were hearing about, that you heard about here. Well, they revealed some things. And as we already knew, Absolute Universe, DC Universe, will spin out of the current Absolute Power event that I think is only one issue out so far of the main event. Apparently, there's no details yet because apparently it's a spoiler, but at some point in Absolute Power, Darkseid does something. Don't know what. Darkseid does something and then creates this other universe. Dude, I mean, look, if you're referencing me talking about that other guy that's making him, like, you're making it about a conversation about stuff that we talk about, right? Like, this is a conversation I can have with you for all to, be engaged with, because I'd kind of be talking about this anyway. The other guy that shows up with like his video and he wants me to watch his video and what do I think about his video and stuff like that. That's the stuff I don't like. But yeah, seep into your subconscious because you had to actively engage with Gen V to see how likable and relatable Jordan Lee is. I don't know what you mean by that. Like, I guess I don't see the connection there. Am I missing something about? Did they say something about Gen V? That I don't know. But yeah, as you see here, you've got you know, the DC folks, DC heroes, and then up here, kind of awkwardly, we turn upside down here, and there's the Absolute guys, the Absolute Trinity. There's some distinctions to them, and we can learn about them here and now. Spoilers for Absolute stuff comes out in October. I don't know. Let me get this shit up on the screen here. No, it's not Dark Knight Returns Batman. It's actually, it's kind of cool, man. Like, the more I learned about him, I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. So you see, so this is the kind of thing that, like, I'd love to talk to them about. How is it forced? How's it forced? It actually worked really well for me. This forced thing is almost never justifiable as an opinion. It's just a thing that's said, because if you accept that it's forced, then anything that anybody says about it after that, you know, it's just bad, right? Like, there's no reason to even engage with it on its merits, because you already know it's forced. You've already decided it's forced, right? So, forced trans character. She wasn't forced at all. They weren't forced at all. They did suffer quite a bit. I don't know. So is there the assumption there that suffering, that the character wouldn't suffer enough if they were forced? I'm not sure. See, there's like, and I'm not saying that you're wrong to have these opinions or anything, but what I mean is that, like, them saying that, EFAP saying that these things are objective or whatever, acting like they're objective, you're making a lot of you've got a lot of presuppositions in your opinion here that I don't necessarily understand or even agree with, or I might, but I don't catch it right off the bat. And so, yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, I didn't find it forced, and I don't think that a character has to suffer a certain amount. I don't even necessarily think a character has to suffer, you know, in order to be justified or whatever. Like, that's just kind of arbitrary stuff that I don't know. But anyway, we can move on from that. And yeah, everything is forced, and also no character is forced. Both things are true. Look, I'm a writer. I've written some stuff. If you sit down to write something, you have to force it to make sense. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think a rewrite is, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say there's a lot of scripts go through rewrites. The rewrite is technically forcing. It's forcing what the first person wrote, or the first draft was, to be better. You're like, oh, I got to shuffle this stuff around. This character doesn't work. Got to put a character in here to serve this purpose and stuff like that. It's all forcing, if you want to call it that. It's like, the part of the thing that these chuds do is use this language that, you know, it's just, it's very weighted, very loaded language, like forcing something, and it just doesn't really apply. It only makes sense if you accept it as making sense, right? Anyway, how about this fucking absolute unit? Holy shit. He's a big boy. He's a big boy. And no, it is not Dark Knight Returns Bruce Wayne. Who is he? Who is this bat unit? We'll find out right now. So, like I said, what will happen is at the end of Absolute Powers, Darkseid does something. Darkseid is going to do something. And then it's going to happen where this whole universe, and it's going to be separate from the mainline DC universe, and it's going to be, you know, several top tier premium creators who are approaching this as if they're writing it for the first time for modern current days. Excuse me. Yeah, so the Absolute Universe launches in October. DC announced the biggest initiative that they've done in the better part of a decade, at least in the words of writer Scott Snyder, Batman: Undiscovered Country, who shared the news in an announcement video on the DC YouTube channel. DC's All In is a coordinated publishing launch of new comic series, new story arcs in current series, and a new alternate DC universe full of restarted, reimagined DC Comics heroes. All In is about inviting everybody in, the existing creators, some new creators, everything to tell their best stories and to begin them all at one point, Snyder said. The idea is to create the greatest jumping on point for you guys in many, many years. He and co-host Joshua Williamson, Superman and The Flash, stressed that All In was not a reboot or a retcon, but would flow out of the conclusion of DC's current crossover event, Absolute Power. It's not, I don't think it's going to be necessarily edgy for edgy's sake, because some of the creators they got, I trust them. So the crossover expected to conclude on October 2nd with Absolute Power number 4, after which DC All In special number 1 issue will come out. Covers the aftermath of Absolute Power, the main DC universe, and introduced an entirely new setting, the Absolute Universe. Created by Darkseid somehow. They wouldn't say because they don't want to spoil it. The Absolute Universe will be an alternate setting, one where DC is inviting writers and creators to reinvent characters like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, starting their stories over from the beginning. This new setting won't replace the main DC timeline, but it won't be entirely separate either. According to Snyder, the Absolute Universe will be part of a bigger story that we'll be telling over the course of the next few years. So it is something that at some point is going to cross over with the regular universe. The name Absolute suggests prestige at DC, having long been the imprint for giant-sized, high-quality hardback and slip-covered editions of the company's most historic titles. Snyder himself will be penning Absolute Batman. So Scott Snyder is not an edgelord writer. Like, he can write dark and edgy stuff, but he's not an edgy edgelord writer, right? With Nick Dragotta, East of West, and Ghost Cage as the artist, Snyder described the Absolute Universe overall. Get this. It's not a crisis event, no. Described the Absolute Universe overall as more chaotic, dangerous, and wild than the main DCU. In this universe, this is the interesting part, guys, and this is interesting. The heroes come up in ways that make them underdogs. They have to be tougher, they have to be resourceful, and they have to shine brighter. There's your fucking fuck your edgy shit right there, man. So, like, I like this. I like the way they're talking about it. I'm going to check it out because it seems like they're taking away the things that make characters like Superman and Batman not relatable. They're putting them in more, you know, the context that they're changing them makes them more relatable. We'll get into that a little bit more here in a second. You know, because the trope is that Superman's a god and Batman's super rich guy, can do everything, and it's like, well, what happens if they're not those things, right? News of All In has trickled out in rumors and hints. Let's see. Okay, so Jason Aaron, Denise Camp, who is currently writing The Ultimates. If you've read the first 2 issues of The Ultimates, you know that those are awesome, and that is a great writer. Al Ewing, Che Grayson, I don't know who that is. Jeff Lemire, you fucking kidding me? Janoy Lindsay, Pornsack Pichette Show, I don't know. And then some other names that I don't know other than Kelly Thompson. So there's Rafa Sandoval, Hayden Sherman, and then Kelly Thompson. Oh, Nick Robles. Yeah. But there's some good names here, man. Snyder concluded the video by talking about the company philosophy behind All In as he sees it. Let's all launch our biggest stories, whether they're radical reinventions of the characters, whether they're continuing awesome legacy stories that are happening in the main DCU, and let's do it all at once. From October on, Everywhere you look at DC Comics will be a story beginning, a place to start. So let's take a look at some of these other characters, right? With these takes. Okay, so Absolute Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. So here's Wonder Woman's, I guess, her design. I think, as far as I can tell, she's one of the ones we have the least about so far. But I mean, it's a cool design. She seems to be riding like a skeletal horse, Pegasus kind of thing. So there's like definitely some element of darkness to it. And that's the thing, that the one thing that has been revealed is that Superman, and I assume the other characters, they will have an element of what's called dark side energy to them. So there's something that in the creation of this new universe, that Darkseid's power somehow has something to do with it. And so they're not the golden gods, so to speak, that they are in the regular universe. There's some kind of, yes, there's a hint of darkness to them, right? Hint of darkness. All right, so there's that. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool, right? Yeah, I don't think that they need to fuck with their regular they finally gotten their regular continuity to a manageable, decent spot, I think. And we're going to get into when they really started fucking it up here in a little bit if we have time. Yeah, we have time. Because I want to go over the first time that they kind of tried this somewhat, kind of, right? Which will be a follow-up to a stream I did a few weeks back. The folder I have all this stuff saved in is called Ultimate, see how clever I am? But no, it's like I got a bunch of stuff about the New 52, Marvel Ultimate Universe, the New Universe, just all of these different times that Marvel or DC has tried to either just basically relaunch or launch a new version of their continuity or whatever, because I'm fascinated by it. And we talked about the Ultimate Universe. We kind of went through the timeline of that in a stream not long ago. And I promised you the New 52 was coming up. There's a lot more to go into with the New 52. A lot more. Well, you'll see what I got. But what's interesting about the New 52 that I was thinking about, it was. We'll get into it later. Never mind. I don't want to get ahead of myself. There's Wonder Woman. All right. Let's check out. So the Absolute Wonder Woman is still Diana and still the world's first superhero, but she's also the last of the Amazons and was raised in hell. That's kind of dope. So she is both warrior and witch, armed to the teeth, and rides a giant black skeleton of a Pegasus. Okay. There it is. Now, this is the one that sounds really fucking good. Honestly, like the Batman sounds interesting, but it's got some stuff that I'm like, this sounds fucking cool. And it's also Jason Aaron. So Absolute Superman. Absolute Superman is the last Kryptonian, but everything else is on the table for change. He is isolated, angry, and super sexy. Oh, and his second issue looks like he'll be going up against an army of peacemakers. I have some more information about this Superman. Let me find it real quick. Absolute Superman, like all characters in the Absolute Universe, will be an underdog, forced to be tougher, more resourceful, and shine brighter against daunting odds. So on November 6th, Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval's Absolute Superman #1 will hit the shelves, introducing a wild new version of the Man of Steel as part of DC's Absolute Universe. While details about this mysterious yet devastatingly handsome son of Krypton remain scarce, the synopsis teases that this is the grown Man of Steel who has virtually nothing. No Fortress of Solitude, no family, no planet. Superstars Jason Aaron and Rafael Sandoval unleash a shocking new take on the last son of Krypton. Without the fortress, without the family, without a home, what's left is the absolute Man of Steel. In addition to the issue summary, fans have also been treated to a sneak peek of the new Superman via Sandoval's main cover. Yeah. So okay, here we go. Actually, do have a little bit about how the dark side thing happens. So, the creation of the Absolute Universe followed Darkseid's return to the DCU and his subsequent clash with the Justice League. This clash will result in a world founded on Darkseid energy. We don't know that he's angry. Did he say angry? Did they say angry? Why are y'all making all these assumptions? I don't even know that it said angry anywhere. He's isolated. He might be, quiet, quiet type. So founded on Darkseid energy, sharply contrasting with the Superman energy that powers the current DC. Okay, so that's the difference. Did I say angry? Okay, my bad. That is something I didn't know that they did or said. So apparently the regular DC universe is founded on Superman energy, whatever that means. But this one is going to be founded on Darkseid energy. So yeah, angry, I guess, makes sense. So he's a wilder, more chaotic, and more dangerous version of the Man of Steel. Yeah. And it looks like his powers are kind of different too. And then we get to the thick boy. Absolute Batman. So this is a regular person height. He apparently is 7 feet tall. Oh, in cowl with boots. Our bat stands 7 foot tall, so he's not quite that tall. It's his base form. So the wings kind of look weird, but then we looked at some images before about what these wings, the cape kind of does, and it's pretty cool. Oh, okay. I think I remember something about that. So he has a really tiny head. It's kind of off-putting. I don't know. I don't hate that he's huge, but yeah. So here's the man himself. Bruce, he's young, in his 20s. He's thick. He's 6'6", 250 pounds. He's a city engineer. He lifts, bro. And clearly he reads, bro. He sulks, bro. And then he's got a Frenchie. French bulldog. And apparently he's blonde, kind of. Okay. I mean, at least they're making Batman and Clark and Bruce look different now. So here's Alfred. He's grizzled. He goes by Penny. He's an MI6 spy. Well, I mean, maybe so, because apparently this Alfred is not his butler. Because here's the thing. This Batman, this Bruce Wayne, is not rich. So he doesn't have a butler. Alfred instead is an MI6 spy who is basically, the story is going to be told from his perspective. And he's going to be kind of watching over everything that's going on. No, I mean, I think that that's funny, but I mean, I think they actually just he just wasn't born rich, maybe. So why is he Batman? We'll find out. Why is he swole? So he can be a better Batman, certainly. Black Mask. Interesting take. We'll see. It's definitely got some anime vibes to it, I think. Absolute Batman is Bruce Wayne. I assume that should have an N. I think so, because there's a couple of fucking really dumb typos in here. Bruce Wayne, I'm going to assume, Gotham City engineer in his early 20s and big, 2 meters high, 18 stone, and the Batman who lifts. The sniper in the San Diego Comic-Con preview is Alfred, but this Alfred is not a butler. Not that Bruce could afford one, but Alfred will be observing the Absolute Batman, and we'll see that narrative through Alfred's eyes. A former MI6 agent, he is dubbed an old guard of the British Empire, figuratively more than literally, I presume, and also goes by the name Penny. Black Mask. Bruce Wayne has a bulldog called Frenchie. I think he might be wrong about this. I think that it's actually a Frenchie is the type of dog it is. I don't know. It might not be what he thinks here. He's kind of cobbling this information together while watching the con. So there you go. And then, there's going to be an Absolute Flash by Jeff Lemire, which is cool. Al Ewing, Green Lantern. That's crazy. Denise Camp, Manhunter. And look, I do have to give Bleeding Cool some credit here. They have called this ahead of the game every step of the way since October of last year. They ran how the universe will be about superheroes as underdogs. Let's see. Wait. So he scooped the existence of what would later be called the Absolute Universe in October 2023. Naming it as the Absolute Universe in April this year as part of DC All In. Scooped that it would be launched from DC Comics in October with Absolute Batman. Scooped that the lead writers and artists would be. So he's been right on all of this shit. This is what's his name? I forget his name. Superheroes as Underdogs, one strand of a DC narratives going forward. Yeah. So there we go. Now, why are they doing this, man? What's the deal? What is this all about? Right? Well, I need to do something real quick, take a break, and I'll tell you about it when I get back in just a couple of minutes. I'll be right back. Then later, I know she's older than what she appears. Like, what the? How do you know any of this? How do you know?
I mean,
Dude,
does
like,
the artwork supposed to show that she looks ancient? Because I was guessing 25, 35.
It's like if Nick Fury got like head trauma or something. He's like trying to be, like, okay, here's what I know about the Avengers. Captain America he do stuff with SHIELD.
Usually, multi-million-dollar companies have somebody to proofread shit before they print it.
This is like a first draft,
Yeah,
Like, this is what I write when like I'm just like doing something, and in my mind I like think of like, oh, that would be a cool idea for like a comic store or something, and then I just like write a quick paragraph or something, then leave it.
It's post-it note shit is what it is.
Exactly.
Here's a good way to start.
Somebody should point this out to Eric July. If you want to compete with Marvel and DC, the first step is to get a book out every month. Oh wait, I have pointed that out to him. Never mind.
Even if you don't have them, like if not even multi-million-dollar, like any indie comic creator that like cares about he's putting in people's hands and he really wants readers to fucking connect with it, would get a friend to look it over or something. Yeah. And if you did have friends look this over, then goddamn, you got some bad friends, and they were the wrong friends to show it to.
If she has a constant whirlwind that surrounds her, how could you make out the icicles that seem to grow from her pores?
Well, see, they only seem to.
The deceptive narrative is DC is making Poison Ivy a fat lesbian, implying the character is forever ruined by SJWs or wokeness. Actual context. The story is from Catwoman Lonely City, which is disconnected from the main continuity of the DC universe. Catwoman Lonely City is not canon, does not affect the established lore or the aesthetic of Poison Ivy or any other character. This is colloquially called an Elseworld story from the now defunct line of DC Comics that exist in alternate realities using characters and concepts we're familiar with. Basically, DC's version of What If.
Ponder the question, what if?
Previously. Now you have a million spider folk, which doesn't even make sense when you consider Peter's origin.
Dude, it's a multiverse.
I don't understand it.
Ponder the question, what if?
Fuck them hoe ass roads.
Ponder the question, what if?
I don't understand. How many times? You think we ain't felt all the things? How many times? We said we oppose taxation. What about the roads? How many times? What about the...
Okay, I'm back. Hi. Yeah, I mean, yes, but why do they have to do that, right? Because I didn't know this until I was reading through some stuff. As soon as I find that stuff again. Okay, so we're going to look at the April 2024 comic book sales rankings. And this is rankings based on orders from comic shops, not like actual unit sales. So this is just like, the comic book shops have to pre-order a certain number of books, and hope that they're doing a good job of doing that for the amount of demand that there ultimately ends up being. So yeah, it's orders tracked by the Comic Hub system at local comic book shops selling American comics. This includes over 3,000 stores selling American comic books worldwide. As always, it is important to remember that these rankings are also not actual sales. These rankings only represent the number of units ordered by local comic shops. Okay. So April 2024, top 200 single issue comics. Marvel Comics placed 9 comics in the top 10. Month-over-month sales were up from the 6 comics that Marvel had in the top 10 in March. Year-over-year numbers were up as Marvel Comics had 7 comics in the top 10 in April 2023. Numbers were up from 2 years ago as Marvel had 7 comics in the top 10 in April 2022. Marvel's on the rise. And they also are just dominating the top 10 and 25 generally. They're dominating the comic book industry. I mean, I'm not saying that as like, fuck yeah, Marvel dominating. It's just what's happening. I think they, it would be awesome if DC was competing a little bit better. DC Comics placed 0 comics in the top 10 in April. Month-over-month sales were down from the 1 comic that DC had in the top 10 in March 2024. Year-over-year numbers were down as DC Comics had 2 comics in the top 10 in April 2023. Numbers were down from 2 years ago as DC Comics had 2 comics in the top 10 in April 2022. DC is not doing well, guys. DC is fucking... It's kind of fucking, it's on fire. It's tanking, They've... Has nothing to do, by the way, for anybody that's watching that thinks it has nothing to do. It probably has very little to do with the stories themselves. It has to do with what is being... what Editorial is deciding to, or the editors are deciding to publish in the first place. And they're probably being directed by fucking suits at Warner Brothers, Time Warner, or whatever it is, because you got to think all the stuff that Time Warner owns. You look at when they look at a list of all of their fucking income streams, DC Comics is at the bottom. And I mean, even if they were doing really well, they'd be at the bottom because it's, it's comic books. It's not going to be one of their main priorities. You know what I mean? That's why they want to make movies, because those actually can make some real money. But in the last couple of years, they've just, they've been slashing books and slashing creators, and like basically the only thing that they're comfortable putting out is stuff that's related to Batman. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at I actually want to look and see what it is. So and a lot of times any of the events that they put out. So more recently they had Tom Taylor had his Dark Knights of Steel thing. You notice that Dark Knights of Steel. Now it's about the entire DC universe. Like a lot of characters are in this, right? Superman's just as prominent as Batman. Of course, you know, they're not literally the same characters. It takes place back, and you just need to read it. But still, everything is Batman centric because it's the only thing they have any faith in. And that sucks that they don't. I don't know. You know, I mean, of course, I'm not working there. I don't know. I don't see how it is. Maybe they have taken some risks and they've seen them not pay off. I don't know. You're good. I mean, the first 20 minutes or so, I was not really streaming. What do you mean? Who? You mean DC? I mean, I hope they don't sell to Marvel. Like, I hope they don't sell. I hope they figure out how to make comics that people read, man. And we're going to get into in just a minute. That's the other part of this is it really the comics themselves? And in some cases, sure, you know, on and off, right? But like the overall trend of comic books not being even close to as mainstream as it used to be to a degree. And the comic book shops that are, you know, struggling, as all brick and mortar shops are, as all bookstores are. Did Bob make a comment? Oh, I see. I mean, so the thing is if they sell off the comics division, they won't have those IPs so that they can make a bunch of money off of movies. And that's probably the only reason they haven't yet. Because they know that if they just get the movies right, because you see they're going to keep trying until they get that shit right. If they just get it right, they're making buku bucks, but they can't do that if they don't own the IP. Right, yeah. It's I mean, I think they try, but then it doesn't super sell very well, right? Like maybe they need to be doing something else. Didn't they fucking shut down a movie or something like that? Was that Hanna-Barbera? Anyway, so I mean, this is great news for Image Comics, but Image Comics placed one comic in the top 10. DC had 0, Image had 1. Month-over-month sales were flat, as Image had one comic in the top 10 the previous month. Year-over-years were flat. Image had one comic. Numbers were up from 2 years ago, so Image is slightly doing a little bit better, and that's good because Image is awesome, right? We love Image. Now, the one comic book from the top 10 that was an Image comic was from the Hasbro franchise. So the Skybound stuff that Robert Kirkman's currently doing, which is cool. There's some cool shit going on there. You know, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and all that. Speaking of Valiant, guys, I don't know if you heard about this, but you know, if you've been around a while, you remember AJ Ampadu, who I had on. He did the 3 comic books, Creator Comics, that he put out all at once. Dragon Face, Kimmy Cosmic, and what was the third one? Dragon Slayer, or Drone Slayer X, I think it was. He went on to recently, he was writing a mini series of freaking Ninjak, right, for Valiant, and now he's the new writer on fucking Shadow Man. That's awesome. Yeah, and dude, I need to get AJ back on here, man. Like AJ, I know he watches sometimes. He's shown up a couple times, but if you see this, please let me know when you're free. Like I want to hear about this Valiant shit, man. That's amazing. Yeah, Shadow Man's cool as shit. Anyway, yeah, I mean, hopefully we see Valiant continues to rise. There needs to be good competition for, you know, that's why, like, if anything, you know, I think Marvel generally is putting out, you know, hit or miss, but some mostly good, readable, to great on that scale there, content right now. But I think they could do better. I think they could be more incentivized and more creatively driven if they had some competition. You know, I'd love to see Valiant or even DC or all of them really just kind of like be making Marvel have to fucking work for it, right? Not saying that any of the creators currently they don't work hard or anything like that, but you know what I'm saying. You know, Ghost Machine's got some cool shit going on. I started reading started reading Ghost Machine #1, I guess it is. It's like the one that kind of like ties them all together. I like the I forget the name of the one, the thing, the goddamn the guy with the mask, the helmet that talks to the birds. You know. Yeah. If you haven't read like it's like the 2014 or so relaunch of Valiant that they did, you know, fucking read some of that. Read some of that shit. Oh yeah, of course not. I bet EVS still pretends like they're buddies though, doesn't he? Sad. Anyway, so this is why DC is doing what they're doing. So I would just suggest that if you like DC at all, if you like these characters, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, whatever, Green Lantern, Flash, Martian Manhunter, if you like the creators that are working on them, because there's some legit great ones, give them a shot whenever they start coming out, right, in October. Try out the Batman book, try out the Superman book, and you know, give it the old college try. And I'm not saying you need to commit to trying to save DC or anything, but if it's something that you like, oh, this actually has a lot of potential, keep buying it. Everybody knows that I'm a Marvel head, but I love DC Comics. I love, you know, Batman is one of my favorite characters, even over a lot of Marvel characters, you know. And I want to see the Superman book. Sounds really cool. I think it's going to be the right kind of edgy and not like edgy for, it's not going to be pizza cutter edgy, right? All edge and no point. It's going to be actually kind of have a point, I think. Because Jason Aaron, man, he generally doesn't go wrong. All right. So now what do we want to do? What are we doing? There's lots of cool stuff. I mean, I see what I think it is I think that Editorial has plenty of influence in Marvel. What I think it is that corporate has more influence at DC. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like Marvel's editors, you know, I guess they're chosen by corporate to some degree, but like, I feel like the editorial mandates come from the corporate end. And they do at Marvel now too, because Kevin Feige is technically a corporate guy, but he's Kevin Feige. And, you know, he might make some decisions that are kind of boneheaded because he's trying to make things line up, like when the way that he killed Ms. Marvel in the comics or whatever, but it's worked out for the best. She's cool as a mutant. It makes sense. You just gave him a pinup like you drew one for his comic? What's his comic called? I forget. I read a bit of it whenever he was working on it. It's pretty cool. Fuck. Sharon? Something like that. Is that out? What's the deal with that? I don't know. I don't. Yeah, imagine the monopoly. It would suck. No. Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think that it was a bad thing that Dio was fired. Yeah, as Pink Bunny says, he was not great for the company either, but they have been a bit rudderless since then. All right. Speaking of the dildo, as I call him, ever since he kind of echoed some Comicsgate sentiment recently, let's look at his baby and how his baby got smothered in the crib. That's fucked up. We're gonna look at the new 52 real quick, okay? So this is a article from Polygon. Actually, that we'll look at that in a second. And this is from 2021, but more recently, from January, there's a Popverse article that's just a quick write-up, I guess, about what Jeff Johns has to say about the New 52. So in 2011, DC changed its comics line forever in a line-wide reboot of all of its major superhero comics under the banner of the New 52. As someone who was covering it at the time, this is by Chris Arendt, editor-in-chief at Popverse. It was a heady time, and everyone had a strong opinion on it, good or bad. But everyone had opinions about it, which helped make it one of DC's largest success stories in modern times. But every mountain must have its peak, and after that, it's downhill from there. So on roughly the 10-year anniversary of when the bloom came off the rose of the New 52, we're talking with... Okay, so here's what Jeff Johns says. There were a lot of wonderful things about the New 52, like Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Batman, which was amazing. You had to work on Animal Man and a lot of other characters, but there was also some that was missing from the prior version of the DC Universe. Johns, who was first hired as chief creative officer, the company's first, just a year prior, said that within a few years, sales had gotten soft. And one of DC's publishers, Dan DiDio, approached Johns about leading a refresh. So he says, I think on some level the creatives were confused as to what counted and what didn't, which always happens with these half reboots. Yeah. According to Johns, early conversations about what to do with the New 52 kept touching on the word rebirth, especially rebirth, as in referring to the Johns line of successful relaunches of Green Lantern in 2004 and Flash in 2009, whose initial storylines were titled Rebirth. We talked about it, and Dan had used the word rebirth, and I'd said, Dan, if rebirth is going to be a theme, I want to go back to the original goals of Green Lantern Rebirth were. Says Johns, it's not just going back to basics. It's about going back to basics and finding that emotional center of the character and then expressing that in a big bombastic way externally. That is what's good about Green Lantern Rebirth, I'll be honest. Flash Rebirth too. Holy shit. John said during the latter part of the New 52 that DC titles weren't focusing much on what the character is all about, what the character represents, what the character explores, the thematics, the metaphors, the storytelling, the reason the character resonates for decades and decades in some cases. Chief among the things missing with the half reboot was character legacies. The heart of the DCU that was missing at the time was legacy because the legacies had been erased. The JSA didn't exist. There were a lot of relationships that no longer existed, Johns tells Popverse. It was an emotional void that I think a lot of people felt, and in some cases, readers had their proverbial umbilical cord cut with the New 52, and they felt it still, and felt it even more. For Johns, the absence was Wally West from the New 52. The absence of Wally West was what he missed most, and what he ended up making the starting gun for the return of DC continuity with DC Universe Rebirth #1. He describes Wally West as the heartbeat of the missing emotional relationships that had been erased in a lot of the cases, and remind us how important those are and how important he is. What I never got was like, so Batman kept Damian, Batman kept Dick as Nightwing, kept Tim and Red Hood, like all of that stuff stayed. Barbara, I mean, I know that didn't they make her back into Batgirl? They kind of fixed her spine or whatever. But like, why couldn't they do that kind of thing with the other characters is what I was curious about. You know what I mean? They didn't really change Batman. They let him, they compressed the timeline. They could have done that with everybody more or less, I feel like. I don't know. Yeah, because I mean, it is kind of ridiculous to think that a lot of this shit. So that means in 5 years he went through like 4 Robins. Like, god damn, Batman. Imagine that. Batman's on his 4th Robin in 5 years. Jesus Christ. It was weird, but I was cool with it because Green Lantern was the shit I was into at that time too. Okay. DC continuity to me is not just about the events, stories, costume changes, and all those things. That's all fine, but those things come and go, says Johns. It's really about the emotional relationships and stories that affect the characters emotionally, and that's what's important. Another thing lost with the New 52 that John lingers on is the erasure of Green Arrow and Black Canary's relationship. That was what I was missing more than specific events necessarily that had been gone. Because a lot of times an event happens and then you move on. It's not as at the forefront of the title. But the emotionality and heartbeat for me was missing. And it was all about relationships, people, families, and friends that cared about each other. Yeah. I mean, I think they wagered that, you know, like the Justice League first meeting each other in Justice League number 1 and 2 and whatnot. Them all meeting each other for the first time. There's some cool moments. There is, in my opinion. You know, Superman being kind of young and brash, that's kind of interesting. He hasn't like chilled out yet, right? He hasn't been humbled yet. But you know, Batman, you know, like just them all coming to realize like you're another person but they don't trust each other, but they also sense that like this is kind of supposed to happen. That's pretty cool. And I think that they felt like that would replace the emotional connections that already existed. Like the coolness of seeing this new reintroduction was going to be enough to, you know, kind of offset the loss of characters that were connected and had relationships. There you go. That's what John said. But then a couple of years ago, there's a big ass. I want you guys to see how big ass this is, okay? Over on Polygon. September 21st, 2021. And I'm just going to scroll real quick so you can see how long this thing is. There. So, oh wait, no, there's more. Tricked you. Tricked me. There. Okay. Well, I mean, so what this is actually this is generally just conversations with people who worked on it. Not everyone, because as it states here, let's see. Of the many prominent participants Polygon contacted for this piece, many declined to speak on the subject, preferring to put a stressful period behind them. So, I mean, you can kind of tell by who didn't speak to them on this that they might have been a little bit traumatized by the experience. And I know Gail Simone has talked about it quite a bit, and she's not part of this. So, like, debuting to impressive sales temporarily made DC Comics the dominant force in the industry. Oh, I bet they long for those times. The event redefined the company's reputation among fans and creators for good and ill. So, outside of comics, meanwhile, Hollywood's coinciding superhero boom came along just in time for the New 52's updated origin stories. And I think it was pretty clear, it was to me back then, that like, you know, 2011, you're waiting on the Avengers movie to come out. You know that's happening. And then they announced this, and it's like, oh, they're getting ready to do their own movie shit, right? Like they're going to do their shit. Okay. It was pretty clear that they were trying to kind of set the stage for new readers so they can have a more cohesive kind of starting point and modern takes on the characters that would then be translated to the screen, right? What's interesting to think about is, so like there's some stuff in here. If you click on the links, it'll take you to other Polygon articles from a couple of years ago. So like the first article about the Flash movie that announced, or the one that announced that it was going to be officially inspired by Flashpoint. And if you remember, Flashpoint was supposed to be, this is like, it's not a good sign, man, that you're supposed to start your brand new line wide fucking complete relaunch from zero, new canon and everything. I mean, for most characters, you're supposed to start it after the event called Flashpoint, right? Which would have made a lot of sense, but they didn't do it. I remember hearing that it was supposed to start after Flashpoint, and then Flashpoint came and went, and they didn't launch it. It's not what launched it, right? And I was like, what the fuck? And then come to find out, they ended up doing it from am I remembering that right? It was Flashpoint originally was the thing, and then they ended up doing it after. Fuck, I'm forgetting now. I guess it probably says in here, but so yeah, in the end, the industry didn't change forever as a result of New 52. Man, only 12 of you watching. You guys are awesome, the 12 of you that are watching. If I don't put something fucking controversial and shit in the thumbnail and the title, nobody watches. It kind of sucks. Disappointing. If I just want to talk about comics, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. That was what it is. What was the thing that it was supposed to originally be? So New 52 did come off Flashpoint. There was something else then before that. Oh, fuck, that's what it was. Final Crisis. Fuck me, of course. Final Crisis was supposed to be the thing that launched it, and they didn't do it. Thanks, man. Or woman, or they men. I don't know. Yeah, it was supposed to be Final fucking Crisis. The one where Superman sings to win against Darkseid. Final Crisis is a fucking crazy nut to crack, man. I don't know if you guys have read that. Yeah. So it just still kind of made some sense to make it off of a Flashpoint, but I think it made more sense for it to be after the Final Crisis, right? That was back whenever I did not like Grant Morrison. I didn't like Grant Morrison's shit. Well, okay, I didn't like when Grant Morrison wrote established characters. Like We 3 is a really cool, tragic but fun, cool comic. There's other stuff that Grant Morrison's written that I liked. That's not Marvel or DC's established heroes. Then I was also pretty stupid and immature, and I just didn't want really unique takes on things, so I just was like, oh, I don't like this. But that was I still say Final Crisis is pretty wacky. All right. So what can you do? Look at this, all this piping. Oh my god, who thought this was a good idea? I bet the artists were fucking groaning when they saw this design, right? Like, I mean, I know Jim Lee is maybe the sole designer. Maybe I think he had to work with somebody. I don't remember. But yeah. I remember when they, holy shit. I remember whenever they announced this, and it was a big magazine story I read or something about it. And just those images, those redesign images, for the first time you saw them, I was super excited because everybody knows I'm a big Marvel fan, but I've always wanted to get into DC more. I've always wanted to find a way to love DC as much as I love Marvel. I just haven't been able to do it at that point. Still kind of have it. I've accepted it now. But whenever they put those new designs out there, and I was like, this is it. This is where I'm going to be able to get into the ground floor of the DC universe, and I'm going to fucking, just dig in and learn about all this stuff that I don't know about. Those redesigns, though, they were exciting. But now I'm like, oh my God, look at all these fucking pointless lines, dude. Look at all this. Oh, Jesus. All right. So, yeah. This started with Dan DiDio telling Jim Lee, because they were co-partners and co-publishers at the time, I don't want us to be co-publishers and watch it run into the ground. That's not why we took the job. Well, good job. You didn't do it. Barely. Yeah. When the event Flashpoint was conceived, it was with the understanding that the DC universe would return to normal afterward. As it turned out, Editorial had other ideas. You remember this? You had fucking... that was another thing. They were going to fold Wildstorm into it, too. Which, I thought was a good idea. I mean, it is. I've been reading some Wildcats recently. It's from a couple of years ago. It's kind of fun. Kind of cool. What was her name? Pandora? Is that it? Because she opened her box or whatever? Oh, there's Batman with his lines. He's got some lines, too. Dumb. In the final moments of Flashpoint, a mysterious woman known as Pandora uses Barry Allen's speed powers to merge the DC, Wildstorm, and Vertigo setting. Oh, yeah, Vertigo as well. Into the New 52. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of... I know that they probably felt like Jim Lee was doing his magic all over again, but it's like, no, he wasn't. This explains a lot. So from the moment I started at DC, I was always trying to get to that spot where we can sort of restart the wheel and really create this entry point for everybody to jump on and contemporize our characters. Marvel had such success with Miles Morales and the Ultimate line, and I kept on pointing to that. I thought to myself, we need that. Tried a couple times. The All-Star line was supposed to be... The All-Star line was them trying to ape the success of Miles Morales. Maybe you shouldn't have gotten Frank fucking Miller. Frank goddamn Batman goddamn Miller to do it. Because he's a little, Robin. You thought I was going to say the word that Batman calls Robin. I wasn't going to say that. Oh my God. All right. So here's what we're going to do, folks. Tonight, should I talk about a chud tonight? Should I do some chud stuff tonight? Maybe. What do you think? So basically, by the way, if you aren't familiar with what happens here, I'm going to kind of wrap this up at 2 hours. But like the reason things all fell apart is they just weren't on the same page. Editorial had no idea what they were supposed to be doing. It was. I can't see what that emoji is, comedian. I'm sorry. I don't see emojis on here. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some chud stuff. I'm trying to think of one while I'm talking that I want to cover. But the writers were constantly having to come to Editorial and be like, what's canon? Can I use this? Or they wouldn't go to editorial and they would just decide. So there wasn't enough editorial oversight in some cases, and they would just do something, right? And start writing something with some piece of previous continuity that maybe wasn't supposed to be new continuity. And then another book would be doing something else that would kind of clash with that. And it just like over time, the books started clashing with each other more and more because there was no editorial oversight, and people felt like they were either they were kind of just like they're tied up. They couldn't be too creative with the playground of the DC universe. And I can imagine that's pretty frustrating and pretty limiting. And then there's also just like they'd write stuff, then be told to rewrite stuff because of something else somebody else is doing, or because we want to save this for that, or whatever the fuck. And it just seemed like, they were kind of like a dog chasing a car. They didn't know what to do with it when they caught it. Huh? Yeah, that's generally what it boils down to. So then, RIP to the New 52 several years later. Took them a few years. The New 52 line was announced officially on May 31st, 2011. Sorry. Not mentioned in that first announcement was the continuity reboot element. That's the thing. That's pretty interesting. It was billed as a historic renumbering of the entire DC Universe line of comic books with 52 first issues. So maybe they just felt like that's too much to announce at one time. It's too much. Or they maybe realized that was going to be the part that people would there would be some backlash over. You know what I always thought was stupid is how DC was always like 52. And it's like, yeah, okay, so there's 52 weeks in a fucking year, DC. Good job. That's not that clever to me. Like, 52 though, there's 52 weeks, so we're gonna do a new 52. That's not an ableist voice, that's just a dunce voice. So, one last thing I want to look at before we go. Yeah, I know, but like, does anybody really identify with it to that degree? That seems like something that they like more than the readers like. Does that make sense? Maybe that's just me not being like the number one DC guy. Does that say sober or Saber? Okay, yeah. Whew. Saber Academy. All right. Oh, I forgot to show you guys this. Got a new one. It's a big one, and it ties into tomorrow, so it's a good excuse to talk about it, because then I can promote tomorrow's stream. Got another one, folks. Boom. It's a shame. It's a damn shame. I guess he doesn't want to hear about whenever I tweet about tomorrow's stream, where Organized Chaos and I will be coming together. Simultaneous release, so that we can cover that debate from over a year ago. It's going to be fun and stupid, but also cool. Also, yeah. Thank you for reminding me. We will, yes. No, I'm not. Please. I mean, I'm not trying to imply that I don't know shit. I know quite a bit about DC. I know about all the crises. I know what changed with the crises, which is with each crises event. I'm generally, I mean, the stuff that I'm not as knowledgeable about are the lesser known characters, honestly. Like, I mean, I've kind of bolstered my knowledge a little bit on those more recently, but like, you know, characters like Booster Gold, Animal Man, just like the characters that haven't generally been like pushed up to the mainstream yet are also the ones that I'm not super knowledgeable on. Okay. But like, I do know quite a bit about Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Anyway, so yeah, tomorrow, I think it's going to be around noon Pacific time or so. Not exactly sure. I will make note of that. I mean, Dan Jurgens was writing a lot of the shit in the 90s, right? Superman and stuff. I don't know. The guy from Silicon Valley, the main guy? Or the douchebag guy? He seems like he'd be the Booster Gold. I mean, yeah, I know about Etrigan. I know the Doom Patrol from the show mainly. I know about the Creeper. I know who the Question is. So I mean, I know who they are. I guess I just haven't read a lot of stories that focus solely on them. Is really what it is. I've seen them all in various. Oh yeah. Fucking what's his name? I'm blanking. Yeah, I mean, I guess when I say that I don't know as much or I'm not as into DC, it really has to do with the fact that I know a lot about Marvel and I'm generally been really into Marvel. Like it says more about my deep well of knowledge about Marvel and experience with Marvel than it does about my lack of with DC. Camille Nanjiani. Yes, that's right. Thank you. By the way, Eternals. It's a good movie. Okay. All right. So this take is good generally. Pink Bunny Zero. I'd be interested in what you think. But so every once in a while, somebody puts out their take about what's really going on with the comic book industry. You know, it's not wokeness. It's not SJWs or activist writers. It's not fucking DEI agendas. It's not that shit. It's just not. It's actually more complicated and more industry level, like as in distribution, sales models and stuff like that, not the actual content of the comics. So, but then it becomes like, well, what's the problem, right? Why are comics? They're not selling as well as they used to. They're not like in the toilet. This guy uses what I'm about to show you. The one complaint that I have is he uses language that I don't agree with, as far as like saying that the reason comics are dying. Comics aren't dying. They're not dying. They've changed. You could even say that they've maybe been hobbled. If you wanted to go to that extreme, if you wanted to use colorful language for it, you could maybe say that they've been, kneecapped or something like that. But dying, I don't know that there's any evidence to support that. What's dying is, like all brick and mortar and especially bookstores, comic book shops. But there's also some that open up too. Like it's not as simple as some people want to make it out. But we could just generally say, I think everybody could agree, comics are not a mainstream thing and they aren't making enough money generally. They charge a lot of money. That's one problem, especially Marvel, but DC too. They're charging too much generally. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that comic books have always existed on a knife's edge. They've never been, yeah, they've had a couple of moments where they surge, but then like right after those surges is a period of like, oh shit, is this industry dead now? That's happened a couple of times. You know what I mean? And I feel like people who analyze this stuff kind of forget about that. Or maybe, I don't know. But this guy, I think, generally has some good takes, and so I wanted to look at this with you guys before we get out of here. So this is Darren Mooney. I don't know who he is. But he says the direct market killed mainstream American superhero comics, both economically and culturally. If you're not familiar, the direct market means comic book shops. Prior to, and even during some, whenever, like when I was a kid, you could still get comic books at the grocery store, for example. I used to get some there. Or, they have spinner racks, or just in the magazine aisle, they'd have some comic books and stuff. They weren't consistent. They'd be in bad shape sometimes and stuff like that, but you could buy comic books there. So he's saying that the comic book shop, I mean, I don't disagree with him, Reggie. I mean, like, I think that he's, it's Twitter, so there's a little bit of simplicity to it, but and I think it's kind of wrong to frame it the way that he does, because it's not like the direct market was bad for comics. It was good for comics, but what it did was, well, I'll let him explain it. He wrote it kind of well. Direct market killed mainstream American superhero comics, both economically and culturally. I don't agree that they're dead. They're not dead. They're not dying. When they stopped being things that kids could and would want to pick up with their pocket money at the corner store, they were doomed. Now, getting rid of that word doomed, I agree with him. Kids don't buy comics generally like they did. When if you're of my age, my era, like, yeah, some kids do. I'm sure you probably know some kids that do, but like, and it's also disingenuous to kind of ignore things like YouTube and all these other hobbies that popped up. Like in the 90s, man, when me and probably this guy too, I don't know who he is, but I assume this was all there was. There was fucking baseball cards, sports cards, and then comic books. If you weren't like if you weren't into sports or whatever, right? Or even if you were, this was the hobby. And then as soon as Pogs came out, that became the hobby, right? Like, so it's almost like it just had its moment where this was the thing, right? And then after that, you saw that, the implementation of the internet, things that come along with that, all kinds of other hobbies, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, right. Right. I mean, it's so Marvel literally bought a trading card company. And they thought that was going to be, they thought trading cards were going to be the next thing, just like they thought their gimmick covers were going to be the next thing. There was a lot of mistakes made in the 90s, but nonetheless, we can get into that another time. But I think that there's some truth to this if you think about the fact that, well, let's just read. Sorry. Very simply, it's impossible to just casually get into comics. And I kind of think that's true for most people. I'm not saying it's impossible, but he's saying it's impossible. That's stupid. For most people, it's hard to just casually get into them. You have to seek them out. You have to research them. You have to find a specific kind of store that stocks them. And they're very rarely designed to be accessible to new readers. These things are true, man. These things are true. And for decades, these fundamental issues were treated as features of the medium. That's also true. You got ascended fans writing stories for fans, riffing on stories mired in decades of continuity. Kind of true. You aimed the bulk of books at one very specific and aging demographic that's already hooked. you people there. You know, is he wrong? No, he's not. Ironically, you have something similar with modern comic book movies, where audiences don't know if they can just watch the Marvels or if they have to watch a bunch of shows on streaming service. They need to get specifically to watch them. And then he said, "Oh, it's all fan service." I mean, that's just fuck off that shit. So I agree. I relate to this sentiment as well. Do you know what my first comics were? Batman number 52 by Doug Mensch and Kelly Jones, and Detective Comics Annual number 8 by Chuck Dixon and Kieran Dwyer. You know why? Because the corner shop where my mom did her grocery shopping happened to have them. And no, those were not my first comics, but my first comics, like I'm sure a lot of you, were just some random comic. It wasn't like necessarily the number one of a new run or anything like that. It was just like I've talked about it before. My first comic book, as far as superheroes, that I was like, oh, I love comics now, was Silver Surfer number 65. Just some random story. I think it was right before or right after Thanos Quest or the Infinity Gauntlet story. I forget. You know, but Thanos wasn't in it. It was literally just Silver Surfer, and he meets up with he runs up running into Reptile, some space dragon or some shit, right? Just a one-off story by the Rons, Ron Mars, Ron Lim, but nonetheless, that was the exception. By the way, the store didn't get them monthly. When they were there, they were there. 13 years later, my partner got me a Batman number 674 comic as a gift. Very thoughtful and sweet. They confessed that it was very hard to figure out how to do that. So this guy's saying that his partner wanted to get him a comic book for his birthday. Or whatever. And it took them a while to figure out how to just get a comic book, right? And that's not too dissimilar from now. Like, if you go to Amazon, which, you know, I'm not suggesting you do, but if you do, if you ever shop at Amazon and you go and you just try to buy one single comic book, a physical comic, you're going to have a hard time because it's going to try and corral you into Kindle. You know what I mean? Like, and then if you have a hard time doing that and you don't know where to like look, if it's, you know what I mean, then what do you do? If you have no idea. Now, I mean, you'd have an easier time if you wanted to. And then this is what gets to my point, what I would add to what he's saying here in a second. But that's the problem right there. Mainstream comics go from a thing that a parent or child can just see and pick up casually without a second thought to something that even somebody who wants to buy them can't figure out how to get them. That's why the form is dying. And then this is stupid. Like, somebody responded to him really stupid shit here. A smaller but not unrelated factor is also the kind of person who can't identify the systemic issues with the American comics distribution model is also the person who will reply to a story about a sweet thing another's partner did with, "Your partner's a fucking moron." Yeah. Comic skater kind of shit right there. More seriously, although, you know, try not to be an asshole, there's an issue that a vocal segment of that shrinking, dying audience that these companies maintain through the direct market is absolutely petrified at the thought of having to share comics with outsiders. And I don't think that that's really, I mean, he might be like conflating comic skaters and like the more toxic. There are definitely toxic fans that aren't even comic skaters, but I think most fans generally, that if you're not already just like, if you haven't rejected this shit and you think it's woke and now you're a comic skater or whatever, then you're probably fine with different types of stories, right? Like new perspectives and whatnot. To be clear, some comic book stores are lovely and welcoming and do outreach into their communities. They are friendly places and they work hard, but all it takes is one bad experience to put a tentative person off wanting to engage. Because is it worth the hassle, really? You know? Then of course you get the manga people who are like, this one manga's better. And it's like, well, you know, American superhero comics don't actually, you know, the mainstream ones don't actually work their creators to death. So chill the fuck out. They're also in color, and there's a much more diverse range of styles. So to your manga. So what I would add is the industry is addicted to the periodical. The industry is addicted to monthly sales, and that's what it's been since the beginning, essentially. Is monthly single issue comics have been the thing. But it's pretty clear that people's consumption has changed pretty dramatically. It's a lot of the sales that happen now, because you can look at the sales, you know, year over year of the industry itself, not the shop, but the industry, and you can see that they're up because a lot of people buy collected editions. A lot of people who don't consider themselves necessarily comic book fans and wouldn't buy single issues every month, they will buy trades. I buy mostly trades now. I can't keep up with single issues anymore. Like, if there's something that I'm really excited about, I will. But that's maybe like 3 different titles a month, 4 or 5 at most. But like the vast majority of what I read are things that I've waited for in trade. Because at the same time, another thing is, you know, you get a better idea of what the quality is going to be, you know, based on reviews and like people that have read the whole story or whatever. You hear things about it like, oh, this story actually was really good, had a good ending, right? Instead of like, I'm just going to buy this every month and just hope it doesn't suck when it ends, you know? They have to shift, man. They have to transition. They have to transition from primarily single issue floppies, periodicals, into the collected editions as the main format, I think. I think that it has to happen. That's what people buy manga in. So that's how it's distributed. But it's like, it's kind of like the publishers are just addicted to this. They need that fucking, we got to get that single issue money every month, right? Stop selling the fucking nickel and dime bags, Marvel and DC and Image and Valiant and fucking Boom. Stop selling the nickel and dime bags. Get into those kilos, man. You know what I'm saying? Sling a half kilo. Something, but like, get out of these nickel and dime bullshit. You're not making anything. You're not doing anything good for anybody, right? They could. Yeah, I mean, look. Everybody knows that the best format for comic books.
You can pick up the softback trade paper.
The what now? The fucking what? Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but yeah, the future is softback trade papers. I actually was thinking, I kind of proposed something to Morgan in our Discord. I don't think what I said was actually a good idea after I thought about it, but something like this. Let me pull it up here. Comedian Dean, you just watched the Marvels. Are the Kree supposed to be Israel? Oh. Did it seem like they were? I mean, yeah, kind of. Like, if you read comics before, the Kree are kind of nuts. So I proposed just off the top of my head, and this is not like a brilliant thing actually, but I was like, what if Marvel offers, just as an example, what if Marvel offers a subscription model that kind of like intertwines a collected edition format and then digital single issues or something. So like, if you subscribe, it may be a premium, you know, maybe a little bit more than the subscription would be now. At the end of the run, they'll also, so you get the issues every month, the digital version, So let's say it's a 6-issue run or whatever, or a 12-issue thing or whatever. You get each one of those digital each month. And then at the end of it, they also send you the physical collected edition, the trade. Or even hardcover, like a nice, if you pay more for something or whatever, you get the premium edition, the hardcover thing, like a slipcover or whatever. Like, there are two different. I feel like there's just ways that they could at least be experimenting with this type of stuff and figure it out, right? Kids love Jeff the Land Shark, you know what I'm saying? They love that shit. But what do you guys think about that? Something like that. Where you're kind of getting both, the best of both worlds. I mean, that doesn't do anything for the comic book shops, sadly. But I didn't know that was a thing. What? Scanning code to unlock the final page in a solid copy floppy. Solid copy floppy that will later be put in the physical trade. Oh, I see. What's the point of that? Is that to get people to buy the trade after they've already... Huh. Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to... I mean, seasons could be good. I'm not saying that you need to just cut off all periodicals. You want to transition, and maybe even keep floppies alive. But, like, just kind of offer another consumption model, right? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't read on phone, man. Give me a second. I'll be right back. So this is him talking about the shipments arriving for his comic. And somebody pointed out, like, that's a stock photo, and I found the article where this photo is from. It just colored yellow for some reason. And
he likes yellow and green, apparently.
I literally found the fucking photo and tweeted about it, and I was like, dude, why would you post this and act like it's real? And he ends up saying, well, it's for the thumbnail. I mean, lots of people like, okay, yeah, people use fake images for thumbnails, but when your whole narrative is that you are competing with Marvel and DC, you're giving them a run for their money, and then you present yourself as having this giant fucking enormous warehouse when really you probably got a fucking storage shed with, you know what I mean? Like, nah, dude, that's a grift. It's a fucking grift. There's no reason to do that except you're trying to create, an image you don't really have. And apparently I heard that he stored his comics in like Rubbermaid totes, which are not made to hold comics. So they're like kind of shifting all over each other, and the
corners getting destroyed.
Yep.
Okay, let's use an actual example. What do you think of the new rumors that the next Superman might be a black actor?
Okay. This is what I read on. This is what I read on. Come on. Okay, here. There we go. This is a Kindle Fire HD 10-inch. I did have the 8, which is only 720p up until like a month or two ago. Finally upgraded to the full HD on this motherfucker. It's great. Works great. This is about the size of a comic book. Let's see. Oh, of course I don't have a comic book super handy. Oh, here we go. There's Secret Empire with the Kindle up against it. So it's almost, the size of a hardback trade paper. These are, tablets can be expensive. If you can't afford one, just like one of the multiple $100 tablets, then just wait until Amazon's got these on sales. What I would say, I hate to promote Amazon, but I mean, look, no ethical consumption under Amazon. But yeah, every once in a while in a pinch, if I'm like at a doctor's office or something, I'm in the waiting room or whatever, like I'll read something on a phone, but I don't want to do that very much. Yeah, you can get, dude, like I buy a lot of comics these days, and I barely spend maybe like $30 a month, but I get a lot of comics for that. Because if you have, well, I mean, then that's not counting my Kindle subscription, but if you have a Kindle subscription, you get a discount on everything, brand new comics, whatever. Then you get to check out comics for free. There's, you have quite a shitload of those. Or you can do the Marvel plan. I'm thinking about checking out the Marvel plan. I did it years ago. I might go back to it, see. I don't know how I feel about it. But then there's also, as Bob of the Old Ways has talked about before, hey, I'm trying to lose weight, Lucifer. Jesus. That's fucked up, man. What's the name of that thing you've talked about, Bob of the Old Ways? I guess he's not here anymore. I see how it is, Bob. Now I know who the real good Bob is. Anyways, all right. So we're going to get out of here, folks. I do have another classic AF video that's about 9 minutes long. I made it a couple years ago and I kind of forgot about it. Hoopla Digital. There he is. Comes through last minute. Hoopla Digital. Or your local library may have a system of being able to check out things for free, because libraries be like that. Both online and physically. So check them shits out. If you want to read comics, there are ways to read comics that is free. It's free. Yeah, there's no way to accurately measure it, right? Like it's kind of like streaming, right? And that's you got to watch out. That's how people grift. Okay. So this video is about, it's called We Just Want Good Stories. Have you guys seen that one? It's from a couple of years ago now. And so I made a video about, well, you know what? I explain it here.
I made a video listing 30 of my favorite comics YouTubers in response to the most common question that I've gotten from my audience on the channel. The link for that video is in the description, but for this video I wanted to try and extend an olive branch to those people who have commented criticizing my takes, my channel in general. I admit, I have a very difficult time seeing most of the points guys in Comicsgate, the Fandom Menace and stuff like that. I struggle to see their points as valid, because most of it simply doesn't match reality. But the most common criticism that I've gotten in response to my criticisms of Comicsgate, the Fandom Menace, etc., it's a pretty universal and uncontroversial statement. And since we agree on this statement, I hope we can work together to make the media that we love just a little better. We just want good stories.
They say that a lot. You know, we just want good stories. We just want good characters. We don't want them to sacrifice characters for fucking DEI or whatever. So I made this video as like, look, I'm going to take this at face value, and I'm a problem solver. So let's try and solve the problem of bad stories, right? And I'll leave you with this. It's about 9 minutes long. I'm going to let it play just because I think it's funny. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you're not already. And tonight, I don't know. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do tonight for Chud Talk, but it'll be something special, I think. I'm going to try and come up with something special for you guys. So just watch out for that stream to be popping up listed on YouTube in a couple hours maybe, and just see if it's something that you might want to be in. You might be interested in. Maybe I'm going to try and start some fights. I don't know. But yeah, you guys are awesome. Thanks for listening to me talk about comic books and talking about comic books with me.
This one statement, I don't think a single person would disagree with. So, let's get some good context and ask, how can we make sure that we only ever get good stories?
Forced adversity.
Woke agenda.
Pro SJW feminist fans of Birds of Prey.
Trash, woke trash movies.
Hertzman hates Doomcock.
First, I kindly ask that you hit that old... It's actually patreon.com/actualfandom now, so don't go to Patreon. By the way, if you follow me for free on Patreon, you can see right now you can unlock, just by following me for free, unlock a video that is a quick explainer of Project 2025. Do it. Likey Thumbboy, and if you're not subscribed, which almost half of you aren't, I really hope you do. I've got a lot of exciting content already in progress, so it will continue to come regularly. I'm also going to begin regular streams, so it would mean the world to me if you'd subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, because I'm really trying to grow the channel right now, and your help would be extraordinary. Now, on with the show. We just want good stories. Who can argue that? Who doesn't want good stories? In fact, I'd go further and say we want great stories. So since we're all in agreement, I believe we can form a sort of coalition of advocates and activists, all sharing the same goal. I'm a solutions-based guy. I'm compelled to solve problems when they arise, especially when it comes to fiction that I love, and have loved all my life. Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Star Trek, these are the pillars of my fandom, and I don't want to see these corporations put bad stories out and kill these franchises. So, I came up with an action item list.
Make these your primary action items.
Kind of an agenda, if you will, that I believe could get us to our goal. First, we have to determine, what is a good story? Some say a good story is defined by how well told the story is, or how tangible do the characters feel? Is the pacing entertaining? Is the dialogue dramatic, yet realistic? I think we all want these. But now we have to define what well told means. The logical thing to do, I believe, is to look at consensus, right? Majority rule and all. So if the consensus on, let's say, Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, is that critics and audiences rated it as above average, can we claim that as objectively good storytelling? Sure, if we base it on majority alone, but what of the others who thought less of it? The 22% of critics and 22% of audiences who thought it was awful. Are they simply wrong? And if they're wrong, does that negate our claim of objective goodness being a thing? Or is it the majority that's wrong? Maybe the majority is lying. I suppose you'd have to concoct some bizarre conspiracy theory about paying critics and I guess audiences to lie about their experience with the film. That's kind of silly, but I don't think any rational person would make such a claim with zero evidence. So would a film or book or show or comic need to be rated 100% or a perfect 10 to be considered good? Well, let's look at the two most commonly used resources for scoring films, IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. Not only are their highest rated films very different from one another, not a single film on either list has been rated a perfect 100% in Rotten Tomatoes' case, or a perfect 10 in the case of IMDb. Now, I personally would rate Shawshank Redemption as a perfect 10, and many others probably would too. But on IMDb, it's only a 9.4, so what does that tell us? That there's a few troublemakers out there trying to tarnish Stephen King's flawless record of book-to-movie adaptations? Maybe a cult of weirdos who believe Tim Robbins is the Antichrist? We can't be certain who these villains are, but I assume that once we enforce good stories, and only good stories, those people will be rounded up and put against the wall. That's a problem down the road that we'll have to address in a most brutal fashion. The next logical question is, what mechanism would we install to gauge the quality of stories? How will we decide the parameters for good stories? I'd say we need some kind of council, endowed by the government with the power to measure the worth of stories before they ever see the light of day. This would prevent a single bad story from ever staining our minds and taking precious moments from our finite lifespans. But who sits on the council? How many council members are there? how are the members decided? I suggest we begin training children as soon as they enter school to differentiate between good and bad stories. Of course, we'll have to retrain teachers as well, unless they get all uppity like,
"That's absurd. You can't force children to agree with your notions of good storytelling."
guess where those teachers go? That's right. We cannot suffer these fools' arrogance any longer in our new paradigm. Okay, so we have our council established, presumably comprised of YouTubers who make 4-hour-long movie review videos. But we'd have to make sure these council people are all on the same page in order to avoid any clash in the process. I mean, imagine if 2 members don't like a thing, but the rest do. The chaos would be impossible to navigate. When the arbiters of our story goodness can't even agree, there would inevitably be a systemic breakdown that could very well see us return to the archaic days of movie studios and publishers mocking us with their bad stories. I'm open to suggestions on this one, guys. I honestly am not smart enough to figure this problem out. Maybe it's all the soy. I leave this one to the alphas with your personal constitutions strong enough to make these hard calls. Speaking of constitutions, the next step is pretty radical, but I see no other way to create the future we want. That pesky First Amendment has plagued art since the founding of this country, and I think it's high time we break the bonds which hold us back from non-stop, ubiquitous, universally loved stories. God, what a utopia that would be. Don't even think about messing with that second, though. Now, on to the messy part. Things will get very ugly at this stage. Another reason we have to get rid of the First Amendment is because it also applies to corporations. Even if we round up all the bad writers, corporations are people. Thanks to the 2010 SCOTUS ruling in the Citizens United case, corporations have the same rights as individuals do. So that means stupid free speech applies to them too. Marvel, Lucasfilm, they're people just like you and me. Once that freedom of speech issue is out of the way, our beautiful vision of a world without bad stories would require us to remove the economic rights enjoyed by massive corporations such as Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, WBDC, CBS, Star Trek, and many, many more. In fact, the only way to be sure is to take control over these corporations, by force if necessary. And you know how rich people are. They don't like to give up anything, so we definitely have to use force. We'll need to figure out what to do with the executives, the shareholders, and the goddamn SJW writers and producers infesting those companies like little blue-haired cockroaches with pronouns in their bio. Oh, duh. That's what the wall is for. But once we've done all these crucial tasks, I firmly believe that we could rest easy in the comfort of knowing we'll never have to be subjected to another bad story ever again. Once the nation and the rest of the world see what we've created for them, none would dare to face the wrath of our new world order, one built upon the most eternal truth. We just want good stories. But let me know what you think of my plan in the comments. Do you have a way to make sure that our council is always on the same page? Maybe at gunpoint?
Sign it! Sign your name! Sign it!
If you'd like to support this work, head over to patreon.com/forcedadversity. Or you can become a channel member by hitting the join button below this video. Alternatively, if you just want to buy me a cup of coffee, you can head to actualcontext.live and...
That is amazing. And you, my friend, are a true hero.
I'm not a fan.
Why?
Because Superman is not black.
Superman's not human.
Yes, he is. He actually is a humanoid. He's just not from Earth. Stupidity is when you speak on things aggressively.
I guess you say I'm arguing on behalf of the people that because I easily I can say, oh, they're just racist white people. They don't want to see a black woman. But in their defense, it's like, hey, my daughter was going to see this. She was excited to see, the little white mermaid.
I have a kid and my kid was a huge fan, probably still is. I haven't talked in a while about it, but like of the Little Mermaid, the original one. And if I found out that my kid saw this trailer and goes, I don't want to see this anymore because she's not white like I'm used to, I would feel like a failure as a fucking parent.
Fatality.
I would be fucking ashamed of myself.
It's what we teach our kids from the very beginning. Don't judge a book by its cover. It's not about the color of the skin. It's about the character. It's about the character inside. It's who you are inside. It doesn't matter how you look outside. We've been trying to teach kids this for who knows how long. And now, like, people are against this.
You win. Perfect.
A lot of people clash with Jeremy over a lot of fucking things. So it's not an echo chamber, like, because we fight constantly about like movies, games, and what we think is the best. And Zack Snyder's movies are one of them. There's a big division in G&G. Like, a lot of people love these movies. Jeremy fucking hates them. So
we need. There's a big elephant in the room with that, though, isn't there? There's a big ass elephant in the room when it comes to Zack Snyder and Geeks and Gamers.
On our donation page, we still have the Geeks and Gamers logo. I just want to say that I really, we talked about this, and we're really not affiliated with Geeks and Gamers as far as I'm concerned, and I really just want to make that clear. And I also want to just say, in light of recent events, I think we really, if Justice League teaches us anything, it's about coming together, and there's no room for hate. And I just think that it's important. It's an important message, and of course, as the father of Asian children, it really hits close to home for me. And I just really want to put that out there that we all, there's no room for hate.
Am I right?
Oh, we want to go there. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I can understand why there would be divided, because here's the thing.
Hey, what's going on?
It's not quite true that what he said. It was the way he framed it, because he was talking about a PR statement that he obviously Warner Brothers wanted him to put out.
As the father of Asian children, it really hits close to home.
About that Asian hate thing, because that event just happened where a bunch of that massage parlor happened, and he wanted to. No, well, look at what happened right after with what's his name? It wasn't Patton. It was what is his name? The guy that went on after. I've got a video about it. They said the exact same thing.
As the father of Asian children, it really hits close to home.
You for this opportunity. I think you have a really great YouTube channel. The production quality is really good, even though I really don't agree with a whole lot that you say. Congratulations on 5K subs. That's exciting. I want to clarify, when I say that I'm part of the fandom menace, I basically just kind of saw that as the best way to describe like the conglomerate of YouTube channels basically that appear on Friday Night Tights, like Geeks and Gamers, Nerdrotic, Young Ripa, Heel versus Babyface, because technically, Jeremy has disavowed the Geeks and Game. Jeremy has disavowed the fandom menace publicly. So I understand like there's that controversy there, but I still just thought is like the best way to describe the overall group of YouTube channels. And now I am technically a member of the Geeks and Gamers team, but my opinions are my own. I do not claim to come here and represent like the official opinion of Geeks and Gamers or represent anybody else's opinion or anything like that.
Just you mentioned something that kind of threw me off, is like Jeremy has disavowed the fandom menace, but he's still in the same circle of people, right? They're still all on Friday Night Tights together. He's still saying the same stuff about Star Wars and Marvel and everything that the fandom menace like. So what is really the practical purpose of disavowing the fandom menace if like nothing is actually changing about what he's doing?
Oh, the reason that he gives is that apparently he saw too much like extremism within like the fandom menace among like things that fans were saying, and he didn't want to be like held responsible for any of that. He said, I'll be responsible for Geeks and Gamers, but not that. And so I guess he maybe saw it as too much to keep up with, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of see that. I don't know. I'm more of the mind that if I was part of something that I was like suddenly like, wow, this is getting kind of more hostile and harmful than I really care for, rather than just go, I don't claim this label anymore. I would completely disconnect from the people that are associated with that label, because otherwise it would just seem kind of hollow to me. But that's just me. Like a lot of people making the claim that they're attacking the fans. And it's like, if you're not one of those people, they're not attacking you. So that's another example of like that kind of cynical, we're just going to blow it out of proportion and say that Star Wars is attacking the fans when, wait, but you're not being racist. So why are you being defensive about the fans? There's never a point where Star Wars said the entire fandom is racist. You're all racists, right? So like, do you see what I'm saying? What's the point of all this?
They didn't. True. Yeah. No, they definitely didn't say all fans are racist. I haven't seen anybody make that claim.
Do it.
Here I go killing again.
And I think one of the major points that he brought up was the Ghostbusters 2016 film.
Yeah,
was
like
kind of
4
like
minutes.
it was kind of like the tipping point for where we were like, oh, companies are just going more for like
Writing's taking a back seat.
The wokeness and stuff like that. Like that was his opinion on it. Do you agree with that? Like the quality of films have gone down since then, or do you think they are still like doing about the same as they were before?
It's honestly about the same. It's not any big difference. Ghostbusters 2016 was one of these meh movies that I find a lot of people like Critical Drinker and I don't know if Neurotic's done anything on Ghostbusters 2016. I'd be shocked. But a lot of these guys just whinge over it like
Almost
incessantly.
yeah.
And the movie came out like, what, 6 years ago? And yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see
I can
how that's
see
a
why,
reflection
though.
of-
I have an opinion on that. What I think happened with Ghostbusters 2016 is a certain, like, yeah, there was definitely a shift that happened with that movie. And just, right out the gate, I think it sucks. I hate that fucking movie. Like, I couldn't get through it. But
yeah,
I don't think the shift was in the film industry as much as, I mean, yes, there's been a shift in the film industry, but I think that what you just described as far as like what Drinker described is really a shift also in YouTube film commentary, which started focusing on this word woke as, something to put into the algorithm, and it goes in the algorithm, it goes into titles, and people click on it because it means whoever's reading it or hearing it wants it to mean.
Hasta la vista.
Nuance and context.
Well, then we should define the term right now. That way there's no more confusion going on.
Absolutely, we should.
What does woke mean to you?
I don't think it means anything. What does it mean to you guys?
Well,
they're talking about racist Star Wars
Yeah,
fans.
they're-
Not just, these things aren't mutually exclusive, dude. There are people who call themselves Star Wars fans who are racist. And that's who they were talking to. The ones who were saying that shit to Moses Ingram.
Okay.
It's not that hard a concept. It really is mind-boggling to me that you guys seem to just fall over yourselves to misunderstand this shit.
Are you 100% sure that every single tweet that she got or DM or whatever was purely racist?
No, but she
No,
definitely got
they didn't
racist
say that.
ones.
You see how you're moving the goalposts just like all over the fucking place.
This video contains adult content not suitable for children.
Dude.
That's what the story was. That was the basis.
They never said that. They did not say 100% of the fucking messages were like, stop making up criteria that don't matter, dude.
That's how it got spun, though. That's my point.
Because she did get racist messages. She absolutely did.
It didn't get spun that way. It got blown up in that fucking echo chamber of the fandom menace and whatnot, where they're acting like that's what was said, when it really all that was said was literally right there in the tweet, and you can read it. And, if you want to misinterpret it and blow it out of proportion and take it personally for some reason, that says a lot more about you than it does about Star Wars.
What does it say about me?
I don't know that you're insecure about something, that you know that you don't know how to read very well, that your comprehension sucks. I'm not sure.
God damn!
Okay, what's more racist, calling somebody a nick or doing a lynching?
I'm out. Why are you going to challenge me to a debate and not know? Like, they obviously wanted to talk to me about stuff, but then they didn't have any like research behind it, and then you're drunk.
Well, and I think we can answer that today, honestly. There's a lyric of a song that I really like, and it goes,
Is it coincidence that the craziest fools have the strongest belief that they're right?
yeah, I mean, it's essentially expressing the, you know, the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Kind of live a bit of a very walled off kind of existence when it comes to these type of things. But from what I've gathered from, you know, different pieces of media, YouTube responses, things like that.
So what he's gathered from YouTube.
How do I put this? Popular term for woke is raising perceived groups that are at a disadvantage to a higher level and promoting them more, i.e., you know, blacks, Asians, the other races,
blacks,
That is
Asians,
the way he's phrasing it. Yeah.
the gays, all that, and putting them on a plateau and making them the highlight of the conversation.
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
All right, so moving on, why is Jim so confident in all this? And you obviously see what the commonality is, right? Chat?
Yeah.
It's woke. The word woke is in all of these, whether or not they enjoyed it or not. They make sure to keep that word in there. And why is that? A lot of you probably are aware, but I think it's worth, you know, getting into a little bit of specifics and understanding this a little bit better, because of how the YouTube algorithm works. And this goes to speak to what Jim was saying in that clip where he learned what he knows about wokeness from YouTube.
Kind of live a bit of a very walled off kind of existence when it comes to, you know, blacks, Asians, the other races.
And I imagine that's where a lot of people did. But what's the problem with that? YouTube is not like, it's not a meritocracy. It's not like the best information is what gets seen the most. It's not the most popular information and content is always the most enlightened or informed content. Like me and Bob were talking beforehand about, we'll often get comments of somebody like, you know, if we make a video about Critical Drinker or something, they'll go, oh, well, he's got 1 million subscribers and you don't, so that should tell you. But like, yeah, no, it does. It tells me that the algorithm is fucking weird. Well, Matthew, I mean, I agree in sentiment, but it is fixed. It's working the way it's supposed to in favor of YouTube and ads. That's the thing. That's why it won't get fixed, because it's not really broken to them. It's doing exactly what they want. It's only broken when it comes to the effect it has on, you know, culture and society. Since 2015, YouTube's goals have purely been to help viewers find the kinds of content they want to watch, to increase long-term satisfaction. Of course, we're all subject to this. Disclaimer: we all live in this world to some degree, are watching obviously what we want to watch. That's, you know, obvious. But like, when the stuff that you want to watch doesn't actually kind of evoke any real critical thought, and it doesn't inform you very much, it just kind of repeats a message over and over again. The message. And it's just telling you, this is woke, everything's woke, woke is bad, look out for woke, wokey, woke, 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 woke. Then you end up like fucking Jim the fucking Casual, or his buddy, who admitted on stream eventually that like he doesn't watch any of the movies that we're talking about. He just watches YouTubers say it. And Jim admitted it too. He got all his, and you end up so confident your fucking head is full of this bullshit that like you think it's fucking legit, and you challenge people to a debate, and then you go on drunk and perform that way about it. And then we looked at his other comments. It wasn't a special occasion for Jim to be that stupid. You know, that's a common thing for him. And it creates this Dunning-Kruger effect where I've been in 5 debates now, and I'll just say I've won them all. I don't want to be like, I've crushed them all, but I've won them all. I think anybody with a, you know, reasonable set of standards would watch those and see that I perform better than the other guy. And that's because of this. That's why I'm surprised that I'm fucking good at it, because I'm really not. I'm just like, I'm not good at debating, guys. I'm really not. It just, if you are committed to facts and understanding things on a critical level, people's shit falls apart.
Well, then we should define the term right now. That way there's no more confusion going on.
Absolutely, we should.
What does woke mean to you?
But you notice that moment when I said, I don't think it means anything. I don't believe woke means anything. What does it mean to you guys? What does it mean to you guys?
Well,
and they're both like, it like broke their brains for a second. And it's because of this. They have for years now been consuming this shit uncritically, unquestioningly. And then they see other people say it, and these other people are, you know, and it feels good to be part of a community where you see other people saying the same thing you are, and they're liking yours and retweeting yours because you said it, and you never really challenge it. It becomes like, this is just a socially accepted thing. Ironically, this is the socially accepted thing on YouTube, especially, to think that woke is some fucking, you know, imminent threat and it's affecting, poisoning everything, despite the fact that it's all very, very subjective, and nobody can fucking really give a coherent definition that doesn't immediately contradict something else that they wouldn't call woke or didn't call woke.
I said, Marsha, I don't know why you're doing what you're doing, but out of Darwin's memory, I am not going to fight back. If you feel the need, because she blamed me for that, and she tried to call a harassment army, the likes of which I have not experienced before or since, against me, saying that I was claiming her husband, her deceased husband, Darwin Cook, was Comicsgate. That was a lie.
Well,
I didn't say that. Mark, understand, you people lie. I did not say that. Billy did.
So have you ever said that he's Comicsgate?
No.
So you've never ever
I'm
said
not
that
saying
he's
it
been
now.
Comicsgate?
No.
All right, this is interesting.
I don't
Here's a
think
tweet
so.
from you. Have fun scraping work in a dead industry that if you suck enough corporate dick, you'll be able to earn in a lifetime what I earned drawing frogs independently. By the way, Darwin Cook was
show it, bring it up.
Yeah, guess what, Ethan?
What's that?
What you just did was called a lie.
You're a soy boy and you stand against it. You stand for woke. That's what you do. You stand for woke.
So
you think you stand
here's an
against
offshoot.
bigots, but
I have to ask
I stand against bigots too. I stand against you then.
Because this soy shit's been so disproven, and you love to use it.
It's a nice way of not calling you gay. You know, like in the old
so
way
you
of
won't call me
like
gay.
people used
so
to say,
let me ask
dude,
you
stop
this:
being
is
so
gay an insult?
Yeah.
So okay, so
It used to be.
explain
Now
me.
it isn't so much. It should
Okay,
be again.
So,
Yeah.
so calling somebody gay
Right.
should be an insult
Because it didn't mean
That's what you're saying.
homosexual. It meant lame. So soy is a nice way of saying, instead of saying gay, because here's the problem. All right. And the problem is you're quite right. Like, listen, people don't want to insult homosexuals. They don't want to insult the LGBTQ community, but they still want to use the kind of word that means lame, the way gay used to, but it no longer does. So we call you soy, okay, which means kind of weak, femmy, like linguini spined. That's what it means. We call you
This is
soy
interesting.
boys.
I like
pussies.
seeing your homophobia.
Yes,
of it.
pussies. I just told you why it wasn't homophobia. Soy
And
is
then
about
you did homophobia, dude.
No, it isn't. It just isn't. You're lying again. You're
That's
not listening.
literally
You
what
have
you just
selective
defined it
hearing.
as.
You know, I'm being honest with you and forthright. I didn't do that. You are lying again.
Wow.
Real time, you're lying. Like you're not even waiting to go back and recut this in order to say
I
this.
don't have to recut
You're
this,
lying
Ethan.
real time. So soy is a nice way of saying
Fuck you, you fucking fat. Shut up.
Listen, people don't want to insult homosexuals. They don't want to insult the LGBTQ community, but they still want to use the kind of word that means lame.
Listen, people don't want to insult homosexuals. They don't want to insult the LGBTQ community.
Oh, you're a pussy. Fuck you fucking faggot. Shut up.
In the old days, by that I mean the 90s, people used to say, stop being gay. They didn't mean homosexual. They meant lame.
You want to come on and talk about it, bud? We're about to end the stream, but if you want to come on and talk to me about why you think that you know my experience better than I do, and also how do you know that it was any more forced than anything else? Were there guns to anybody's head, or was it a team of people making a decision for a film, as happens with every other aspect of a film? And if you maybe missed the fucking brilliantly executed way that DJ just explained it, I don't know. You can come on and I can try and do. I'll probably do half as good a job.
People
But
that make comments like this have been conditioned. It's not. It's sad that we have to put up with it, but it's also a result of people that have been fed things. They've been consumers. That's it. They've been consumers their entire life, and they've never questioned the media that has been put in front of them. So when something else, like they've been fed pizza all their life, and one day someone at their table gets a hamburger, and they're like, "What? That's not food. What is that? That's forced. It was put at this table. It shouldn't be here." Because all of a sudden now their entire concept of what dinner is has been disrupted.
Oh, I don't know. I've actually been subscribed to you for a little bit. So I'll watch when you live stream here and there, but I don't know. Some of the stuff you were saying, I was just like, there's no pushback. Dude, echo chambers are so freaking boring.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a nothing statement, because like there are.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about even, dude, I find nothing more boring than talking to somebody that I just agree with everything about.
I mean, I
like
don't
family,
agree.
dude. I don't.
The people that I had on today, we don't all agree on everything.
I didn't catch the whole thing. I was just when I started.
You really just caught the tail end of me and another guy agreeing on a general topic and some of the details within, and yeah.
Well, yeah, that was a point that really kind of, it was funny to me, because you had the natural, instinctual, and frankly rational reaction to.
Well, see, hold on. Is it natural? Is it instinctual? Or is it rational? Because natural and instinctual,
all of the above.
I mean, rational does not mean instinctual.
Not necessarily, but it doesn't contradict either.
And you were right in the sense that I had the natural reaction to a dude who has had everything catered to me my entire life, and then suddenly was faced with something that was catered to someone else.
Is catering good or no?
I mean, it's subjective. I mean, it's good. I mean, yeah, if it's making people happy, it's making people feel, seen, represented.
Okay, I'll rephrase it. Is catering good storytelling?
It can be, yeah.
It is not.
That's a really vague statement, man. You're gonna need to substantiate that with like evidence.
Give me an example of when catering should take precedence over good storytelling.
Well, first of all, what does good storytelling mean?
A story that serves the purpose of the story itself, not just. I mean, left, right. So I don't care if you're pandering. If your point in throwing something into a thing is to pander, it's like, I'm a Christian, but dude, I don't want freaking, someone to stop a movie. Like, I'm enjoying this movie. It's well thought out. It's well written. The characters are well imagined, and everything's going on. And then you just stop in the middle of it to give the gospel. It's like, bro, you're throwing.
Well, I mean, but what the thing is, though, what you're assuming that everyone is noticing it the way that you are.
You noticed it.
You don't think. Wait, you don't think
you're politically on the other side of the aisle.
Hold on. You don't think that.
So we both noticed it.
You don't think that movies and stories are objective experiences, do you?
No, of course not.
Okay, well then, so that right there tells you that like not everyone is experiencing the same thing. We all bring our frame of reference. Mine being that I'm a when Endgame came out, pushing 40-year-old dude who had all my life read comics that the vast majority of them are about dudes And then here's this moment when they intentionally decided, you know, we've completed this fucking monumental run of films, and we do want to, as has been demanded by the audience, people that have been watching our movies anyway, but they still wanted to see, you know, more women characters, which, by the way, plenty of them existed already. They just hadn't made movies about them yet. You know, they said, here's a statement. In the same way that they made a statement with, like I said, Captain America and the Hammer, they finally gave me that, which I'd been fucking, they edged me for years.
That was another point I made in the chat, is that wasn't pandering, because that was something they'd held off doing for the entire run of all of the Marvel movies, even though we did want that as fans, right?
Well,
because
yeah.
that's
So
the battle
if
cry
we're
for the Avengers, it should have
what we
been,
can't do,
but it's like they just saved that up for that moment. That's not
well.
pandering.
Let's hold on. Let's, before we can go any further, because it seems like the core issue here that we're going to have is this is good or bad storytelling, right?
Mhm.
So you've told me what you don't think is good storytelling. Can you tell me what are the boxes that needed to be checked for good storytelling? And just saying that something that serves that doesn't tell us anything. That because it's subjective, man. It really is. Something that's a good story to you, I'm sure we disagree on quite a few, and probably agree on quite a few.
You can tick like the basic storytelling boxes of whether you want to use the hero's journey or you want to use Save the Cat or whatever, where you have a character that goes through a transformation that's an irreversible change in his life because of the experiences that he's dealt with, you know, through the inciting.
Give us the Glenn Buck.
Crazy Cat said, Eric, what are the plans for the Rippaverse when Daddy Glenn shuts the money hose off because of...
She's a former Padawan who could put out sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space. Fires in the vacuum of space. Fires in the vacuum of space. Sustained fires in the vacuum of space.